welcome to the May 18th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. Superintendent, if you'll take the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
Ms. Larrett. Here. Ms. Lofthouse. Here. Mr. Reed.
Here.
All are here.
All right. We will be going into closed session. But before we go into closed session, let's see if there's any public comments. None? All right. So we will be going into closed session on the following matters. Student matters, specifically related to expulsion recommendation, case number 2223-4S. Also, employer-employee relations, conference with legal counsel regarding litigation, conference with real property negotiators, and personnel matters. So we will be back at 6 o'clock sharp, but until then, the board will be in recess. Welcome to the April 20th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A broadcast and recording is being made at the direction of the board, and the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board Policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among employees, parents, and the public. We will treat staff, parents, and members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. If any member of the public uses obscenities or communicates in a demanding, loud, insulting, and/or demeaning manner, the board will calmly and politely admonish the person to communicate civilly. Public comments during board meetings are an important component of public engagement and transparency. Members of the public will not be permitted to yield their speaking time to another member of the public. Per the Brown Act, the board is not allowed to enter into a two-way discussion on any matter not on the agenda. All written comments submitted by 3 p.m. today to the board have been read. We would like to acknowledge that there was an issue with the link provided for public comment today. We were able to correct the link prior to 8 a.m. this morning. We apologize for this happening and appreciate those that notified us of the issue. Superintendent, will you take a roll?
Yes, Ms. Perez.
Here.
Ms. Srivastava.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
Ms. Larrett.
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse. Mr. Reed.
Here.
All are accounted for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, agenda item 5, reporting out of closed session. Superintendent?
We have no action to report out of closed session.
All right. Item 6, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Huey. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Srivastava. Superintendent, take the roll.
Ms. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Huey.
Aye.
Ms. Larrett.
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 7, special presentations. The first one is students. Superintendent.
Yes, we have a lot of students in the house today, and our first student recognition is for our English learner students who have been reclassified as fluent English or emerging bilinguals. And I'm going to invite Ms. Cabrera to come to the podium. She has a presentation, but as she's coming up to the podium, I want to personally congratulate all of our students who are developing into students with bilingual, or in some cases trilingual, 3 languages, and that's amazing. And we have pretty high criteria that it takes to be redesignated as fluent English. And I also want to thank the parents for your support, our teachers, And all of our administrators that are here from our school sites that are also here to help recognize and congratulate our students. So with that, Ms. Cabrera, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for those kind words, and really congratulations to these students. It is an achievement. The term emerging bilingual is exactly the goal for these children, bilingual, trilingual, whatever the case may be. But maintaining that first language and then taking on another language is an incredible feat. And I am so honored to have the privilege of announcing these students today with their achievement. I do want to start with the reclassification process. We thought the background was so pretty, but it's just not showing up as beautiful. Trust me, it was gorgeous when we put it together. Just striking. But what you see here is that we have 363 students, and we are celebrating their accomplishments. In order to be a reclassified student, it requires a couple of things. You must have an LPAC level 4. LPAC is English Learner Performance Assessment. A level 4 is a grade level and meeting grade level standard. That is the top level. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's not a level of proficiency related to just doing well. It's really about mastering the language in English, reading, writing, listening, and speaking to a level of 4. They also have to have grade level performance in their basic skills. So if you're a third grader, you need to be at third grade level. If you're an eighth grader, et cetera. Okay? They also need to have a teacher recommendation that in addition to doing well on these achievements like CASP and LPAC, that they're also performing well in their day-to-day classroom performance, okay? And then last but not least, there is a requirement to consult with the parent so that the parent's aware of the progress, because when children reclassify, we want them to continue to succeed, and that is an important, milestone that we communicate clearly with the parents as well. In front of the screen, what you see is a sample of the certificates that all students receive once they're reclassified. Our schools have done an excellent job. Our principals work with their teachers and program monitors or academic coaches, which will be instructional coaches, and really celebrating the achievement of these students. Many of the times the celebrations take place at an ELAC meeting or an award ceremony. In fact, we have 2 schools tonight, Peter J. Shields and Folsom Middle, who are actually having their award ceremony and will not be present. So others, it's award season, so I understand. Again, I mentioned that there was 363 students. They are not here. They have other commitments, but I can tell you that we are equally celebrating them. Just as comparison, in 21-22, we had 344. So last year there was 344, and that was a big number coming out of COVID. Because there was some cancellation of tests or suspension, I should say. And so we were able to really look at students deeply, even deeper this year. So we exceeded that number. The year prior was 176. We know what that year was, right? And the year prior to that was 215. Our general average is just around 250, 275. So today's number is really astounding. And really, it's obviously the students' work. It's the teachers. It's the parents. It does take a village. I do want to, before I announce students, do some shout outs to the village. Jana Mulhart, our EL lead teacher, has done an incredible job in providing one-on-one teacher support, program monitor training, and the providing valuable teacher resources and tools. Taylene Gers, who does the updates to all the data systems so that our Power School has the correct information for students. She does that. She also writes or creates the certificates and gets them out to the sites. The teachers, of course, who provide integrated and designated English language development, and they concurrently develop fluency and content knowledge. The families, the loved ones at home, beginning with that first word that child learns and encouraging them and valuing the process of becoming an emerging bilingual. Our bilingual aids to support not only the learning, but the language connection, and most of all, the students for their hard work. So with that, I'd like to just do what we're here for, which is the most important piece, and announce them. So our plan was to call them up by schools, but I would like to, I believe, Blanche Sprints. I don't know, looking at, maybe if we can start lining up the students, and I know they all have a name card. So what we are doing is announcing the students who are here today. As we know, some of them will not be here. Okay, come on up. You want to help us? Tráemelos, Vilma. Tráemelos. Bueno,
And we'll have their names on the screen, right?
Yes. So Jessica Manoli from Cordova Meadows, 4th grade. Nihal Paramban, Empire Oaks, 3rd grade. Joanna Alvarado, Folsom Hills, Alvarado Cervantes, Folsom Hills, 4th grade. Oh, we got a little stall in the movement. Just keep them coming, Miss Vilma. Vente, mijo, come on over. This is Niall Thomas from Mangini Ranch, 1st grade. Montserrat Elizabeth Castellon Sainz, and she is from Natoma Station, 3rd grade. This is Saya Kobayashi, Natoma Station, 1st grade. Nare Arapetian, and from Navigator, 1st grade. Jin Katsumi, Navigator, 2nd grade. And this is Austin Tao, and he is very clearly telling me he is in 1st grade at Navigator. Okay. This is Mika Shalom Oak Chan, 5th grade. Srihita Yalamati, Mangini Ranch, 3rd grade. Thank you. Luke Wen, Peter J. Shields, 4th grade. Kasar Alami, Rancho Cordova, 5th grade. Carla Dominguez Martinez, Rancho Cordova, 5th grade. Narine Vardanyan, Rancho Cordova, 5th grade. Mohammed Syed, Sandra J. Saad. Thank you, Saad. Sandra J. Gallardo, 5th grade. I love all the help. Thank you. Juan Sierra, Sandra J. Gallardo, 5th grade. Jasrita Simakurti, Sandra J. Gallardo, 1st grade. Andrea Bell Manwong, Sandra J. Gallardo, 1st grade. Can I do better? Manong? Manag. Thank you. Andrea Bell Manag, Sandra J. Gallardo, 1st grade. Ho Chin Han, Sandra J. Gallardo, 2nd grade. Saul Aguilar Jauregui, Williamson, 1st grade. Tony Hernandez Lugo, Mills Middle School, 6th grade. Way to go, Tony. Oscar Aguilar, Mitchell Middle School, 6th grade. Antariksh Rajesh, Riverview. Rajesh, Riverview STEM Academy, 5th grade. Fardim Hassan, Navigator, 2nd grade. Brandy Fuentes del Cid, Mitchell Middle School, 7th grade. Sofia Andasol, Mitchell Middle School, 8th grade. Calvin Singh, Mitchell Middle School, 8th grade. Nidhi Tekadil, Sutter Middle School, 6th grade. Vaishvi Garampali, Sutter Middle School, 6th grade. Answal Batarai, Sutter Middle School, 7th grade. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Zaid Mejia Simon, Cordova High School, 12th grade. Sí, ponte allá. Muy bien. Alexander Dobik, Cordova High School, 10th grade. Hovsek Gacharian,
Yeah.
Cordova High School, 9th grade. Germán Alvarez Polanco, and she's Cordova High School, 11th grade. All right. So what I do want to say is you'll notice at different grade levels, language takes its own level, but we also have to remember that students come to us at different grade levels. And so some of these students were able to have language influence in the home. Some of these students did not. So this is the beauty of language acquisition. I want to congratulate you. And if you can please give us a couple more minutes, because I know there's some people that love you so much that want pictures of you. So if you hang on to that, I would really appreciate it. Okay?
And your district is going to want to get a picture
Okay,
too.
all right.
So, but I would love some help. Maybe we could get 4 rows with the.
If you think you're taller than the person behind you, stand behind them. Yeah.
Oh, God bless them.
Maybe we should stay put, or just stand here.
Maybe we should stand
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay, I don't want to.
Board, if you can excuse me, Dan Krozowski, Oak Chan, 4th grade, he could not come, but Mom could. So,
That works.
I think you get in the picture.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, we will make sure you get, well, we got to get him a ribbon. Okay. All right. Any other moms that are here for their children? All right, I'm going to get out of the way. All right.
Board, we're going to stand up back here, but let's scrunch together.
Yeah,
So if
I
you want
think
to come
we'll
this way.
stay here. We can squeeze in.
Alright, I'm gonna do this. I promise, I will take a picture and then you guys can take as long as you want taking pictures. How about that? Alright, everybody, look here, 1, 2, 3. Take a couple more. All right, and now don't go anywhere, okay? Because your family wants to get pictures.
I think we have some more.
It's Elena. Two more students. That's your surprise.
Give me your cards. I'm so glad you're here. Srisai Shashank Valuri. Shisai. Theater Judah, 4th grade. Srisai, you can help me with your name. I will promise to do better. Srisai. Oh, Vijas Veluri, Sutter Middle School, 6th grade. So glad you're here.
I may need another picture, okay? Because we got some more students now. You guys are all amazing, amazing. Okay. All right, look up here. Whoops, wait a minute, let me zoom out. Okay.
good?
Well, with that, if we can give them all a great big round of applause. Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you to the families.
Well, that was great. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the gentleman who had the tie that matched mine. So. All right. Item number 2, superintendent.
Well, we have another very special student presentation, students to be honored tonight. It's our 2 student board members, Rocio Perez and Ria Shrivastava. Even though this is the last week and a half of school, I know our 2 student board members said they want to continue coming to our June board meetings, even though we told them it's not required. But I think that is just symbolic of the fact that our 2 student board members have gone above and beyond with their commitment to serving as a member of this governance team and being leaders for our student advisory board and representing all students in Rancho Cordova and Folsom through our student advisory board committee, which I have to say has had over 30 students participate, 30 plus students, every single meeting representing our middle schools, high schools, alternative high schools. And we are just, you have set the bar very high, and I know your 2 successors are here, and we're going to hear from them in just a few minutes. But we want to spend a few minutes recognizing and thanking you and appreciating you. And I know we did that at our SAB, and Dr. Peace is here, and she's going to help me as well. But if I may indulge and share my thoughts first, because I didn't get to do that at SAB. But these are some of the highlights that I want to publicly thank you for in your roles as student board members and part of this governance team. Ria and Rocio, you have been advocates for amplifying student voice and making change through social justice advocacy. You've increased inclusion of student voice of our students in both Rancho Cordova and Folsom through your SAB monthly meetings. And you've grown the capacity as becoming student board members that are continuing to grow yourselves. Examples of that are your roles at the CSBA annual conference and being leaders there, but also learning from other student board members throughout the state of California. You also attended CSBA student focus groups, which again helps you grow in that capacity and bring those ideas and information back to our district. You participated as a first time in the California Civic Learning Summit, and we took quite a few students to that event. We, I think, had the largest representation of students from any of our districts in the county. And not only that, Ria was appointed by Chief Justice Guerrero to serve on the Power of Democracy Steering Committee. She represented all high school students, again, in Sacramento County, and that is quite a recognition and distinction, but also a great feather in your cap, Ria, as you move forward in your life. Our 2 student board members attended the SCOE Board of Trustee convenings that happened throughout the year, and I believe our district was the only district that brought student board members, and our SCOE counterparts and board members there were very impressed. Throughout the SAB meetings this year, our student board members led what we called youth participatory action research. And they had focus areas that they all convened around, and mental health was one of those big focus areas. And some of their empathy listening groups that they had this year focused around mental health, around student safety, physical safety, and emotional and mental health safety, and dress code. Our 2 students also organized and led alongside our SAB members the first international night that we celebrated and had students all throughout the district celebrating the wonderful cultural and diversity in our district. And I have to thank our 2 student board members for their advocacy in revising board policies and board bylaws. I think we had more that we looked at and revised and brought forward to this board for approval this year. It started this year with our 2 student board members asking about student board member remuneration. And we created a scholarship for student board members through the support of our foundation. Student board member elections and creating student board member representation for both communities, Folsom and Rancho Cordova. Looking at our dress code and our safety advisory committee and having their voice present at all of those meetings. Those are just some examples of your leadership and what you've done to help, I think, bring student voice to the table, but also be leaders for other students and role models to others as they aspire to this position as well. And you've been such an integral part of this board in adding that voice and lens from the students. And I truly thank you for that, and I know our whole governance team does as well. So I'll stop there, and we'll see if there are any other comments, and then we have some awards that we'd like to present.
I feel like I'm going to cry. So coming onto the school board, one of my things that I was most excited about was getting to know and working with student board members. We have a very important role up here, and that is being the only elected office to have student voice. And you guys made that very easy. I really can't imagine starting the school board without the 2 of you. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know both of you, and you are both incredible leaders. Like, give me so much hope in just youth in general. And not only are you good leaders, but you are fantastic speakers, and you know how to say exactly what you need to say in a way that people understand, and people believe you, and people truly want to be more like you guys, or girls, I should say. So thank you for being here when I came onto the board. You've made it a pleasure. I loved getting to know you guys and your families at the conference. I'm very much looking forward to working with your predecessors, but I really, truly, at this point, can't imagine without you guys being here, so thank you.
Board Member Clark?
Yeah, I don't want to get emotional because you 2 are my girls. I tell you, I just so appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your tenacity, the way you handled your meetings, the way you kept your composure on a few things. You know what? I'm going to miss you all. I mean, definitely. And I just hope that you guys, I know you'll be back in June, but I know you're going to be going off to college and doing your thing, but check in on us and see how you're doing and see how we're doing. Like I said, I'm just incredibly proud of both of you. Rocio, you blew me away the first time I met you. Just very welcoming and talkative. I mean, I think the first time we talked, we stood outside and talked for about a half hour. Take that voice with you and just be that leader that you can. And Rhea, I almost cried the other night when they mentioned your name as a valedictorian. I was just like, my girl did this. So I am so proud of you. And I just wish you the best of luck.
Board Member Laurette?
Yeah, I mean, what more can I say than what they've said, except that, you know, one thing I just really have always appreciated is that you guys are not afraid to be bold. You're not afraid to say the hard things or engage in the hard conversations. And sometimes can be difficult, especially when you're dealing with adults and up here. And I have always appreciated the kindness and the level of respect that you have for your peers and for adults. And I just can't imagine like your schools without you, because you guys are just such amazing leaders. And I know that the students really have relied on you to be their voice up here. And I think that a lot of what you guys have brought forth has been heard. And I just really appreciate the dynamic and the engagement, and just appreciate how welcoming you've been to me on the board. And I just wish you guys the best of luck.
Board Member Hui?
Thank you. I mean, one of the things that sticks out to me is that both of you are on this board because of the leadership you showed well before you were on this board. Leadership to both your fellow students as well as this board at times. I appreciate that about you. It's clear that you were committed to this from the very start. I do believe you've let us completely encourage dedication, advocacy, things that have all been mentioned here, and your thoughtfulness. None of us always necessarily agree on everything, but I know you've each thought through what you're talking about, and I really appreciate that. We always know where you stand, and we need more of that. So thank you for that. Last thing I'll say is you will be missed, certainly, but I'm certain your legacy and the changes that you've brought to this board will continue long past when you guys are off of this dais. Thank you.
Yeah, Ria and Rocio, it's been a real honor to serve with you on this board. You know, the one thing that I think I've done every single year since I've been on the board, when the new student board member, or now members, join, I always encourage them to speak up and engage, and even if it's something that a controversial topic that maybe we don't all see eye to eye on. And you know, I would say every year the students impress me, but every year the next group takes it to a new level. And I really do appreciate your vocal and active participation on the board on behalf of the students. You know, at the CSBA conference, you know, I could tell that you took that very seriously, and the education sessions and your engagement with your fellow students, as well as the adult board members. And you know, I know a number of folks mentioned the legacy that you'll leave. I mean, the one thing that I will highlight as that I think is one of your greatest legacy is, if you will, the democratization of this school board election for your position. For the first time ever, every single student correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every single student in secondary, both in middle and high school, got to vote for your position. That's never happened before. It's always been, I believe, at the SAB level, correct? I mean, I'm not sure how many school districts do that, but that is amazing, and it's great, and it really, you know, teaches students that they too have a role in electing, you know, their leaders, and I just congratulate you on that. That is an amazing accomplishment. So,
Mr. President,
yes,
if I may, I need to give extra thanks to Dr. Peace and molding these two girls and working with them, spending time and being there for them. I mean, you know, you're part of this legacy, and I thank you for all the work that you've done with our student advisory board and working with these two young ladies.
Thank you. If I could, so.
I also want to thank Dr. Peace, and we couldn't, you know, I don't think the SAB and the student board members would have been able to achieve all that they did without Dr. Peace's support, and being at every one of those meetings, helping rewrite the student advisory board handbook, and help with the board policies and board bylaws. And we as a board have certificates of appreciation that we want to present, but I know Dr. Peace has some special awards too, and she'd like to say a few words. So Dr. Peace, please.
Thank you. While everything that you all said about these young scholars is 1000% true, I have a personal message for Rhea, and Rocio. Don't start laughing, Scott. A couple of my colleagues have placed some wagers on how long I can keep it together, so I'm already losing. Anyways, words cannot express how much I love you two. Your passion and empathy for others have left an impression on my heart forever. Rocio, I'm so proud of your growth over the last 2 years. Today, I see a confident young woman who will change the world. Hold on, my tears are blurring my vision. Will change the world with your empathetic and caring heart. I love that you pursued your dream of going to college despite what you believed, which barriers were presented in front of you. I know that you will have significant impact in this world, and I pray that you continue to pursue your dreams and remain confident in who you are as a young woman. Rhea, your resilience, bravery, and passion are unmatched. You sat in meetings where aspects of your identity have been criticized. You spoke up in meetings when others attempted to silence you, and you did it all with grace. You unapologetically spoke on behalf of peers and other students of color. You fought for what you believed in. You are a strong, loving, and compassionate leader. I can't wait to see how you change the world as well. Both of you have made significant changes and contributions to our district. More than ever, I'm beyond grateful to have the privilege of serving as the advisor and mentor for SAB. I'm so proud of both of you, and I love you both dearly, and I'm so grateful to be a part of your life. So with that, we have some special plaques that we would like to honor you for your contributions to Folsom Cordova Unified.
So now we'll have you come down and we're going to join you down there. I'm going to read what's on the plaques and then we'll physically present these and take some pictures. This is a certificate of appreciation from the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education presented to Rocio Perez and Rhea Shrostov, student board members for the 2022-23 school year for outstanding service to the Board of Education, the Student Advisory Board, and to the students of this district. Congratulations again on behalf of the board and the district.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, we had 5 more students show up for the redesignated English learners. So I'm going to ask Elena to come back up before we leave student presentation so we can honor those students.
Dr. Clegan, do you mind if we make a comment as well? We have prepared something.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to go first? Okay.
Let's do that first.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all of you who have been such an integral part in this journey throughout this year. As my time as a student board member comes to an end, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation for such a rewarding and valuable experience of representing our FCUSD students with a greater focus on the underrepresented student community throughout my time here. It's been a journey full of challenges, growth, and meaningful connections with you all. Serving on the board from a student perspective has been both humbling and empowering. I took on this role with a sense of responsibility, knowing that I would have the ability to amplify the voices of our underrepresented students and advocate for their needs. Throughout my term, Rhea and I have strived to create a more welcoming and inclusive environment in which every student feels appreciated and represented. And I feel as if we have accomplished that this year, especially with SAB returning back to in-person meetings this year. I received the sweetest gratitude from some of our representatives at our last meeting, and that's when I realized the positive impact that both Rhea and I had throughout this entire year on our peers. I'm proud of the strides we have made as a district. We have made advances toward creating an environment that celebrates and welcomes our differences, from advocating for the construction of safe spaces to fostering inclusive curricula. I always say that Cordova High fosters a campus culture that appreciates the lived experiences of all students. We have worked so hard for our achievements at Cordova High, and I will forever take pride in my Rancho Cordova community. Dr. Pease, I wrote everything I needed to say on your card. So, but to be brief, you have been the most influential adult in my life this year. Thank you, Dr. Kaligian, for all your dedication and openness to our ideas. You have set the standard as a superintendent empowering other women. Thank you to our cabinet for your unwavering support and readiness to hear the issues of our students. Thank you, Mr. Clark, for being the most welcoming person since I was even on the board. I was eager to work alongside you in the beginning of my term. Keep visiting our schools, keep capturing photos with our community and the students, because there are other peers out there who look up to you. Thank you to the rest of the board as well. Thank you, Ms. Lofthouse, for the flowers. Thank you, Ms. Lorette, for everything, and Mr. Reed, you as well. My time here as a student board member has been transformative, not only in terms of my understanding of leadership, but also in shaping my commitment to social justice. So thank you to everyone in this room, and I am positive that wherever I go, I will take where I come from. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to recognize Rocio and I. I'm going to try to keep my composure, but no promises, because Mr. Meyer had me tearing up last night after our last safety advisory committee meeting. It's so hard to believe that my time on the board is coming to an end. And though I'm on the board for the month of June as well, I just wanted to take a moment to thank this board, Superintendent Kaligian, district staff, and all of the teachers and classified employees for their hard work and dedication. I've been on this board for a year, but it feels like much longer than that, because I was a bit of a nuisance to this board for the years prior to my official appointment. And these Thursday night board meetings have become a permanent part of my schedule for the past couple of years. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to have had such a voice on such important matters. To Rocio, it has been such an honor to serve alongside you as student board member and now as one of my best friends. You have so much heart and love. One thing about Rocio is you will always find her connecting with students first. On every site visit, you look in a classroom and she is on the level of the students, talking to them and appreciating them. And I know that she'll carry that love with her as she goes to UC Santa Cruz. Go Banana Slugs. But yeah, I just want to say, since my first day of kindergarten, Folsom Cordova has welcomed me with open arms into a community that has become my family. This district offers heart and empathy to each and every child who walks through its doors, instilling within us not only a deep and profound value for learning, enriching our interests in everything from art and theater to engineering and medicine, but also in how to become a whole human being, how to have passion, empathy, and care. For me personally, I am who I am because of this district. I am so proud to have been a part of this incredible community, and it is absolutely the hardest goodbye as I move forward. I truly am so deeply grateful for every individual who has had a part in my past 12 years here. So thank you to this board, thank you to Superintendent Kaligian and the rest of the community cabinet. It has been such an honor to serve as student board member. Thank you.
And Rhea and Rocio, did you want to introduce our newest student board members?
Yes, absolutely. So,
we are so excited to introduce our 23-24 student board members. We had 7 incredibly qualified and passionate candidates for our 2 positions this year. And thanks to our first ever district-wide election, we are confident that the 2 students selected represent the desires and needs of our student body.
our prospective student board member from Rancho Cordova is Van Merrill, and he is an upcoming junior at Cordova High School.
Hello everyone. My name is Van Merrill. As a current sophomore at Cordova High School. I'm very grateful for this opportunity that everyone has given to me, and I'm very excited to serve as a student board member during the 2023 to 2024 school year. Thank you.
And our student board member from Folsom is Matthew Melajor. I'll go ahead and invite you up to the podium. He is a rising senior at Visilago High School. Congratulations, Matthew.
Hello, board, FCUSD. I first want to thank all the student body for supporting my campaign and supporting me in this position for student body member. But my job is not done. I cannot be a RIA and I cannot be a Rocio, but what I can promise is I can promise to continue their journey of seeking student equity and student voice throughout this district. Once again, I thank everyone for supporting my campaign, and I look forward to being this year's student board member from Folsom. Thank you.
Welcome to both of you, and look forward to welcoming you up to the podium, I guess, in August, right? Yeah. We were going backwards, right, to get those 5 students? All right.
All right. Well, you know, sometimes wires get crossed, and I'm just so happy they're here. And it's actually 6. I don't know. It is. Yeah, it's 6. Yalda Axel? Yalda? Yalda. Aquí está. Yeah. Kenny Vargas. Yalda, if you could stand up there. Thank you. We did give them their ribbons outside because we weren't sure if you would, so thank you so much for allowing us to come back in. Kenny Vargas, and he is Yalda is a Cordova High 10th grader. Congratulations, Yalda. Kenny Vargas is a 11th grader at Cordova High School receiving his reclassification. Kenny? Okay, he's gone. Cesar Gutierrez Donis is a 12th grader at Cordova High School. Brian Munoz Sangerman, Cordova High 10th grade. All right, he's up. Shahab Lashkari, and that's 10th grader from Cordova High School. Shahab. And Neda Alami, she is a 7th grader at Mills Middle School. And their parents, I believe, are somewhere out there and somewhere in here. So if we can thank you again and congratulate them one more time. Please hold for about 8 pictures. Okay, thank you.
8 pictures. So we'll come down.
Elena, would you like to be? Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you so much. Let me get out of the way from here.
All right, that takes us to staff special presentations. Superintendent.
Well, we're also very excited to be recognizing two of our classified employees of the year, not only recognized at our county level, but selected at the state level as well. This is quite an honor and a distinction, not only for our two employees, but for our district as a whole. And the California School Recognition Program of the California School Employees highlights contributions of classified employees who support the education of California's more than 6 million public school students from preschool through grade 12. Of the 9 classified school employees of the year in the state that were recognized, 2 of those winners are from Folsom, Cordova, and they will be honored at a luncheon by Superintendent of Schools Tony Thurman in Sacramento on May 23rd. So it's my honor and distinction to recognize Miss Amber Demas as the California School Employee of the Year for the state for Health and Student Services. Let's give Amber a round of applause. And Amber, we have a certificate of recognition for you from the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education for the 2023 California Classified School Employee of the Year for Health and Student Services in recognition of your contributions as a classified school employee who supports the education of California's public school students and especially Folsom Cordova students.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again. And we are also honored to be recognizing Ms. Carrie Waddell as a California School Employee of the Year for Custodial and Maintenance Services in Folsom, Cordova. And Carrie, your certificate also reads that the school district and board recognizes Carrie Waddell for the 2023 California Classified School Employee of the Year for Custodial and Maintenance Services in recognition of your contributions as a classified school employee who supports the education of California's public school students and Folsom Cordova school students. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're going to come down and take a picture in just a moment, but we have one other employee who was recognized at the state level just recently, and this is for the 2023 Association of California School Administrators, or ACSA, for the California Administrator of the Year. And this award and recognition goes to Miss Alicia Cadell. And Alicia is being recognized by ACSA, which honors educational leaders who strive to create and support equitable educational opportunities for our students. And the nominations were submitted to the leadership of ACSA's 19 regions throughout the state of California, with more than 250 finalists presented at the awards. Ms. Cadell was not only honored here at our regional ACSA this last week, but she will be honored at the state ACSA Awards in November in Sacramento. So Career Technical Education Administrator of the Year for our local ACSA region and the state of California. Congratulations, Alicia. We are so proud and honored to be recognizing all 3 of these employees, not only for our school district, but for the state of California. So we'd like to present you with these certificates.
So we'll make sure that everybody gets a chance to take a picture. So look at me, 1, 2, 3, and again. Okay, and I'll get out of the way, don't move.
Everybody look at me, please. Thank you.
I love you, Mommy.
Sorry, I had to get all the angles, guys.
It's always a fun time of the year with all the recognitions and graduations and promotions. So obviously congratulations to all the students and all of the adults who were recognized tonight. So that takes us to agenda item 8, which is public comment. This is the point in the agenda that anybody who has topics that they would like to bring that's not on the agenda has an opportunity to speak to the board. If you are here for an item that is on the agenda, we will provide public comment for those individual items when we get to it on the agenda. So I have a couple of cards here. Let's see, the first, Angelica Miklos. Welcome.
I have the wrong report up. All right, well, thank you. I'm actually speaking tonight on behalf of Jamie Emmerich, who's a teacher at Williamson and couldn't be here. But she, in the discussion about first and second grade and necessary supports, she made some really good comments on Facebook and gave me permission to read them. So she said, as a 28-year veteran teacher of first grade with extensive experience and training in early literacy, including but not limited to a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, a national board certification in early childhood education, a national board certification in language and literacy, and letters certified science of reading-based professional development. I am disgusted and disappointed FCUSD made the decision to do away with early late after countless first and second grade teachers testified to its effectiveness without fulfilling their promise of support by providing paraeducators to effectively implement small group instruction with class sizes of 24 and higher. Our voices fell on greedy deaf ears, and the students are the ones suffering. Teachers were already overworked, overwhelmed, and underpaid. The added stress of not physically being able to meet the diverse academic needs in literacy and math has exponentially increased the already overworked, overwhelmed, and underpaid first and second grade teachers, not to mention adding all-day kindergarten in many Rancho schools without adequate aid time. Many children have not reached their full literacy potential, and the ramifications will be countless in the years to come. All of this helped me decide to no longer try to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, which is how I feel every day walking into my first grade class. Thankfully, I already have my early childhood units, and I'm eligible and thrilled to leave first grade to teach transitional kindergarten, where I will be able to use my expertise and bring a love of learning to a group of impressionable 4-year-olds. The law requires the ratio to be 12-to-1 for the entire class time. It will be a play-based curriculum. Our youngest learners need this fighting chance of academic and social-emotional success because they will fall further and further behind until FCUSD starts putting children and teachers in the forefront of their decisions. I have loved being a first grade teacher, but with the number of years I have left, my health, my family, and my sanity outweigh the love I have of teaching children to read. I'm passionate and excited to give our youngest learners the strongest and best foundation in early literacy, number sense, science, and social-emotional learning for many years, and to reignite the joy of teaching the irresponsible decisions the recent FCUSD school board has made, which negatively impact teachers and children who deserve more. Thank you for allowing me to read her comments.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rebecca Mott. Welcome.
I have to speak, I'm speaking on an agenda topic.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that, I may have put it down wrong.
It's actually an item that's in the agenda consent. So this would actually be an appropriate time to.
Appropriate or inappropriate?
Oh, appropriate. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, so just get nervous. So, I wanted to, say good evening, and my name is Rebecca Mott. I am thanking you for listening to me tonight. I wanted to, encourage the approval and continued support of the FCCLA program, in the Rancho Cordova High School culinary program. My son is a senior this year and has been able to attend the FCCLA conference down in LA that he went to, and he won a call from a mentor that he is getting tonight, so he's not able to be here. But I wanted to encourage you to continue to support that program. He has been able to be a magnificent leader as we go to different culinary events that he has been the leadership in. And as he's been learning to cook, he started when he was a 8th grader and then went over to the high school and got in as a sophomore. And he's a senior graduating this year with one of the highest catering hours in his class, and has enjoyed it and has learned to be an amazing leader as his mom, sit and watch him lead as we've attended his culinary classes. But I just thank you for your continued support, and know that there are many kids that will continue to learn and grow as they are able to travel. He's also, with his class, going to Chicago. He leaves tomorrow morning at 5 to enjoy the different culinary experiences in Chicago. And so I wanted to thank you very much for supporting them and his wonderful teacher in those experiences.
Thank you. And we have Christina Cook. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Christina Cook. I'm a first grade teacher at Mangini. I'm also an equity leader for our district, and I'm our human rights representative for our union. I just wanted to let you know that in my classroom, we have a saying, and I teach it to my students. Day one, if you see something, you say something. So I am here to tell you that we are not able to do our jobs correctly. We are not able to do our jobs with fidelity. I personally, transparency to all of you, I cannot do the job that I was once able to do when we had early late. And I work really hard. I stay late, come early, I work the weekends. I'm constantly creating curriculum for them to do so that I can have some small group time. And I'm really tired. I'm 55 and I'm thinking about leaving. And I need you to know that that's not just me. It's multiple people at our district. I have people constantly emailing me and calling me and saying, please say something, because I won't do it. Well, I'm doing it and telling you that we are not able to do our jobs with fidelity. I was here in February to present a presentation to all of you with Jamie Emmerich, who is now a TK teacher, and we presented all of the things that we would hope we would get when early late was taken away, and I have not seen anything. And let me say that again. I have not seen anything, and I probably will not see anything again next year if nothing changes until the budget. So I need to let you know that things must change, or people will be leaving the district, people will be going to TK, people will be leaving on stress leave. And I really don't know any other way to say it, except if you see something, you say something. So thank you for listening to me. I know I've been a big, loud voice, But I feel like if I don't say something, that it'll be matters, everything will seem fine, and everything is not fine. So I just wanted to let you know, and I thank you very much for listening to me, for answering my emails, for visiting my classroom. Come in and see what it's like to teach 24 students that range from a 0.5 grade level to a 4.5 grade level, all at the same time. And it's just very difficult, and I'm not one to complain, but I'm deeply complaining right now that I cannot do this job with fidelity. So thank you so much. I appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you. And anyone online? No one online. Okay. And it doesn't look like there's any more in person. So we will move on to agenda item 9, reports of district organizations, and we'll start with the Student Advisory Board.
Thank you. Yeah, we just wanted to share a couple pictures from International Night. For those who weren't able to attend, we didn't get to do that the last meeting. So, okay.
We can go ahead and scroll through the pictures.
Or just like,
yeah. Yeah, so we were so lucky to have so many students participate in this year's International Night. There was no shortage of students interested in doing cultural performances or hosting informative booths. So much so that we did have to turn away a couple students, but in the end it all worked out. You can see that we hosted a fashion show.
so yeah, we really think that this event was evidence that when you give students a platform to share about their cultural identities, they flourish. We saw so many students light up at the opportunity to talk about the origins of their attire or food. And events like this one help students correlate their cultural identity with genuine community interest and support.
And we really hope that International Night continues long after Ria and I graduate, and even more so that we as a district continue making active efforts to connect students and families across the district the way we did here.
And then we just also wanted to thank Dr. Pease, Miss Jackson, Miss Craig, Miss Winstead, and Miss Samuelson again. Truly no part of this event could have been done without them. They were just instrumental throughout this process, and even when Rocio and I were busy, they handled all the logistics for us. So yeah, we really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have the California School Employees Association. Welcome.
Good evening, all. Thank you for having us. Only a couple things to report. First, I'd like to say negotiations have come to an end for the year. We were able to close the contract this time and finish our openers pending approval and ratification. It was fun. We got a lot of good things out of it, and they got a lot of good things too. I'd also like to, I'm gonna forget something. I gotta get all this out. Thank Dr. Collegian for earlier in the year, we had a morale survey. And through that morale survey, we learned a couple things that needed to be addressed throughout the classified staff. One of them was training throughout the district and the lack of training through the staff. And through that, we were able to get a professional development coordinator job started. And we look forward to seeing who that person might be and working with that person. And I wanted to thank Dr. Klegian, the board, and the district for making that happen. That's a big part, and CSEA will be much appreciated for that. Also, last thing, next week is CSEW week. That is Classified Employee Week. We celebrate it all week long. If you run across a classified employee, please thank them for their service. Thank you.
Next, we have the Folsom Cordova Education Association.
All right, thank you. Hello again. All right, well, it's hard to believe. This is my final report as president. And I can't, before I even start, and I'm going to read a lot of this, I want to make sure I congratulate Rocio and Ria. It has been such a pleasure working with both of you. Your grace, your courage, and your advocacy are so admirable. And I'm grateful I've had the opportunity to work with you. It's been on a limited basis, but it's been so exciting to watch you up there for this past year. Oops. Okay. This is hard. My heart is full of so much gratitude tonight. It's truly been my privilege to serve for the past 7 years. I've been blessed to represent the best group of educators that are driven by their passion to serve their students. They are there every day to support each other through challenges and celebrate their triumphs together. They have been my inspiration and lifted me up as well through the difficult moments. This experience has allowed me to grow so much as a professional. I value all of the unique roles that I've had and the relationships I've been able to build. I've had the honor of working with everybody in this room in some capacity, and I've also learned so much from each of you. I've been fortunate to be an integral part of CTA, from my role in the Instructional Leadership Corps to serving as a state council representative, helping to set educational policy. Each of these experiences has helped me grow, build relationships, and develop leadership skills I didn't possess 7 years ago. My passion will always be working with teachers and supporting student achievement. I'm excited to take all I've learned into the next chapter. I want to close by expressing my heartfelt gratitude. Sorry, I knew this would be hard. My heartfelt gratitude to my exec board and bargaining team. They've been my foundation, and together we've achieved many accomplishments for FCEA. New leadership will bring fresh perspectives and opportunities for continued growth. Our teachers are truly my heroes, and I've been able to represent them for the past 7 years, and that's been the highlight of my career. Thank you.
Angelica, I just wanted to also extend my congratulations and my thanks for everything you have done for the union, as well as the teachers and the district. I remember the 2 years before I even got on the board. You were here every single meeting. Sometimes I sat next to you and we chatted. And I've been on the board 5 years, and you've been here that entire time as well. It's going to be strange not to see you and welcome you to the podium each meeting. And I understand congratulations on your retirement as well. So we very much appreciate the service that you have done for all the students that you've taught over the years. And I know if they were here, I'm sure some of them are in college and some of them are in their careers, but I'm sure they all would say thank you for being their teacher as well.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Next on the agenda is the Folsom Cordova Leadership Association.
Good evening, Board President Reed, Dr. Kalikian, and members of the board. Tonight's a night of endings, I guess, because tonight is my last board report as well as FCLA president, and it has been an honor to serve in this capacity. I would like to highlight a few of the items that, as a management association, we have been able to accomplish this year. 8 schools and departments shared right here at this podium the ways that they're opening the doors and building connections here with our students. 2 students were awarded the Every Student Succeed Award, along with scholarship monetary check from the Association of California School Administrators, or ACSA, and we are currently in the process of awarding scholarships to our current Folsom Cordova graduates. We updated and revised our bylaws, which was a task that honestly was several years overdue. We worked with Dr. Kaligian and Don Ogden collaboratively to support our leaders here in Folsom Cordova. We've deepened relationships with colleagues during socials, meetings, and professional development sessions. Our team of highly knowledgeable managers presented at conferences all over the state as well as the country, sharing and investing in other educators. We served on state and national committees and advocated for students both at the state and national level. Dr. Sandra Garcia, Annie Conover, Mindy Andrus, and Alicia Cadell were celebrated at the AXA Administrator of the Year Awards earlier this week. As you know, Alicia Cadell was recognized this year as the AXA State CTE Educator of the Year. And finally, we reminded one another to take care of our students, our staff, our families, but also ourselves. And so I will now be entering into the past president role, but will be forever grateful for the opportunity to listen, encourage, and serve alongside fellow Folsom Cordova Unified School District administrators and leaders. And I now have the honor of passing the baton over to Mr. Peter Maroon, who will be the 2023-24 president of FCLA. Mr. Maroon is a veteran Folsom Cordova teacher, coach, principal, and the current director of athletics. And I'm confident that he will lead FCLA into the future with confidence, knowledge, and integrity. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, we have the District English Learner Advisory Committee.
Good evening, President Reed, members of the board, Dr. Kaligian, and my esteemed colleagues. I really don't have a report tonight, but just looking forward to reporting with DLAC and getting to do what we did today was just to honor our English learners, former English learners, and reclassified students. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to agenda item 10, agenda consent. We will be pulling one item off for a separate vote, and that's item J, the approval of expulsion recommendation, case number 2223-4S. Is there any other items that anybody wants to pull?
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to pull item D.
Item D, okay. Any others? All right. Is there a motion to approve agenda consent with the exception of item D and J?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
A second by Board Member Perez. Superintendent?
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Let's start with agenda item D, approve Rancho Cordova Student Athletic Coalition Booster Club. Superintendent?
Yes, this item has been a long work in progress, but we're very excited that we can bring it to the board tonight, that the Rancho Cordova Student Athletic Coalition has completed all their paperwork. It is now an official booster club pending the board's approval.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to personally thank Mr. Conrad Mayer, who was the president, as in the audience, for putting in the work, and the rest of his board to make this happen. It has been a long time coming. It's something that Cordova needed. My only wish is that they have the full support of not only this board, but this district moving forward. That's it.
Okay. Any other board members? Okay. Is there a motion to approve agenda item D?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Lorette. Superintendent?
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. And on agenda item J, approve expulsion recommendation, case number 2223-4S. The reason why we pulled that is to give the students the opportunity to abstain on the vote. So with that being said, is there a motion to approve item J?
I'll motion.
Motion by Board Member Lofthouse. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Lorette. Superintendent, will you take the roll?
Yes. Ms. Perez?
Abstain.
Ms. Srivastava?
Abstain.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui? Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to agenda item 11, which is discussion action items. The
Can I
first.
make a few introductions,
Oh,
Mr. Reed?
my apologies. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. With the approval of the consent calendar, we also approve the personnel action form, and with that, we have some folks in new positions that we'd like to introduce that are joining us this evening. So we'll start with our new Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Kamaljeet Panu. We're very excited to welcome him to this position. He comes to us with over 20 years of experience in education, with positions that include being a teacher and a principal for school districts throughout Sacramento County, and most recently is the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for Washington Unified School District. He is also a local resident, and he's excited to serve our community, the one in which he lives and where he is raising his family. Congratulations and welcome aboard, Panu.
Thank you. As Dr. Cleggan mentioned, trustees, really honored to be here tonight, and I brought two students that are going to represent us well. They tend to give me a lot of stories when they get home of, Dad, when you go to the district, can you fix this? So now I've always had the luxury of saying, well, you remember, young ones, I work in a different district. So really honored to be able to support our students and really make a difference. So, but I'm here joined with my two young ones that are a high schooler and a middle schooler. So, but we're definitely vested in the community and are excited about this opportunity.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome. I love the fact that your kids came with you. That's great.
Next, we're excited to congratulate and introduce Ms. Carla Davis as our Community Schools Coordinator. Now, Ms. Davis has currently been serving our district and is currently in the role as Community Schools Specialist, where she led a strength and needs assessment to support the writing of implementation grants to benefit qualifying schools. Prior to joining FCUSD, Ms. Davis had 3 years of experience leading, merging, and designing community schools in the San Francisco East Bay area. She also previously served as a school site principal, school site academic coordinator, instructional specialist, and teacher in Sacramento County and the Bay Area. Ms. Davis will continue to work with the Strategic Initiatives and Support Services team and work with qualifying school sites to implement a community schools mindset to support removing barriers to academic excellence. And it's very exciting that we could also announce today that the State Board of Education formally approved 6 of our community schools grant that Carla and Kate Hazarian also wrote. Thank you, Carla, for your leadership and working with our team alongside Kate and all those from our union partners and staff that made that come to be. It's 5 years of funding for 6 of our schools in Rancho Cordova for a total of $7.6 million, and we're not done there. Is that right?
Correct. We are not done. Thank you. I'm excited to continue to serve in Folsom, Cordova. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Next, we're excited to introduce Ms. Mindy Andrus, also familiar face with our district. She will be the coordinator of visual and performing arts for Folsom, Cordova. She is a lifelong professional educator advocating for the whole child. Ms. Andrus has held the leadership role of the district's coordinator for elementary music, art, and PE. She works closely with her team to ensure that teachers are collaborating through professional learning communities and are planning with shared teaching strategies, common assessments, literature circles, and data study. She is committed to advancing high-quality visual and performing arts opportunities for all students with an emphasis on educational equity, and I know she's going to continue to raise the bar in that field, and we're excited for you to be taking on that role, Mindy, so thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to say I am going to be a little sad to not be involved with teacher induction since that was my baby for 8 years, but I'm excited about the opportunity to move that on to a different situation where we can support all of our new teachers coming into the district. And then of course VAPA is my other true love, so I'm excited to take this on and to continue to build that program as we move forward in the next few years. So thank you.
Next, we're excited to congratulate and welcome another familiar face. Ms. Christy Wilkerson has been named the Coordinator of Professional Development for Folsom, Cordova. Ms. Wilkerson is an experienced educator with 28 years in the profession, spanning grades preschool through 12, and has been part of the Folsom Cordova team since August 2000. She taught mathematics at both Folsom High and Vista Del Lago High School before becoming a lead teacher for math for the district in 2011. Following her time at the district office, she became an administrator and served as an assistant principal at both Mitchell Middle School and Folsom Middle School. And she's currently serving as the principal of Cordova Villa Elementary School, and looking forward to her role in growing professional development for certificated and classified staff in our district. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to supporting all of our district employees through professional development, especially our classified staff. So thank you so much.
And Folsom Cordova is also pleased to announce Ms. Joni Cunningham as the coordinator of new teacher support and development. Ms. Cunningham has 27 years of educational experience, with 19 years of those years as an administrator. She started her career with Folsom Cordova as a teacher at Cordova Gardens Elementary, later became the administrator for 3 elementary schools, Peter J. Shields, Sandra J. Gallardo, and Russell Ranch. She is a leader of leaders, serving as a mentor to new administrators, providing them with guidance, best practices, and techniques for continuous improvement. Her approach to teamwork and goal setting is a working triangle model, incorporating the balance of relationships, knowledge, and leadership. And we know she's going to do that in her new role as well for all new teachers, induction, and new teachers to the profession. So congratulations, Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you, will do. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations to all. All right, discussion action, first item A, second renewal of the School Resource Officers Agreement with the City of Folsom Police Department and Sacramento County Sheriff's Office for the 2023-24 school year. Superintendent.
Yes, we're bringing this forward as second renewal for the SRO contracts for both the City of Rancho Cordova and Folsom. I'm going to ask Mr. Martin to give a quick summary of the action tonight.
Yes, this is the third, good evening, everybody. Right into business. This is the third year of the 3-year agreement. So for 23-24, we will be just renewing the existing contract for service. You will see a slight adjustment on the dollar amounts for the contract. One actually went down. It was based off of an actual SRO, and because of the replacement of the SRO, the cost went down, which was nice to see. The other one had a built-in increase related to negotiations of their bargaining units. And so we're just asking this evening to have that approved.
Okay. Questions from the board? Mr. Clark.
Yes, Mr. President. So just kind of looking at all this, and I assume that Folsom PD, the price was reduced a little bit, or no, which one was? It was Folsom, right? And Rancho increased, or did that stay the same?
No, it's the other way around, I believe. It's Folsom increased. Rancho lowered, yeah.
Okay, so.
And these are, so for Rancho, that was a true cost. With Folsom, they have an average cost for the officer, and so we just have a little different methodology. And then a reminder that we pay for one SRO from each city, and then the second SRO is actually covered by the cities.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to ask. And I do have a comment for later, but I have a question about the incidents that require our SROs, i.e. whether it's, brandishing a weapon, knife, bomb threat. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, there's a ton of them. But I'm just wondering, from the past years, I know in 2018 there were 348 incidents, 1920, 247. Do we have anything for 21, 22? Or, 2021 or 21, 22 as far as incidents?
You're looking for numbers?
Yes.
I'm sure we can get that. I'm looking at Mr. Meyer. He said we can provide that information for the board.
Okay,
we don't have it with us right now, but we can definitely pull that and share that with the board.
Okay, I'm just curious,
Sure.
If they have
You're just wanting to look at
increased.
the statistical information and some history. We can, we can definitely get that. We have the last 5 is what Mr.
That would be
Meyer said.
great.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
We can
I
share
would-
that to the board
would
and,
really
and
like
get that to
to,
Dr. Clegan. Yeah, for sure.
I would really like to see that. So I'm assuming that, I know that the board approved this last year, and you said that this is the 3rd and final year, and that you all will probably be looking at other options next year.
You know, I believe we have a safety committee, so the item will be coming for next year, the safety committee for the 24-25 year.
Okay.
And so at that point, obviously, we have the ability to look at the entire contract and review anything within the document or any other processes.
And I'm assuming that we will have student voice on there, correct, on the safety committee?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. This year, did you have student voice, any input?
I believe that is correct, yes. Yes.
Okay, you did,
Yep.
okay. Okay, all right. That's all I have right now.
Okay. Great.
I have one question, probably for Mr. Meyer. I know last time we talked about this, or when it came up last year, we had added the language about body cams, and I believe at least with one of, maybe it was Folsom PD, but I don't recall for certain. We had signed the MOU, but they still weren't using the body cams. Are those active and being in use now?
Yeah, and that was actually something I believe our students and some of our safety committee had brought up. We had actually talked about changing that. DT talked to both departments, and it's already in their contracts, their overall contracts, which in our MOU, it says they must follow all. So anytime they're with students, they have to turn it on. And this is something I learned, because you always wonder, why don't you always have them on? It's the battery life and it's the storage life, so they can't always keep them on. So if you ever wonder why they turn them on and off, but anytime they have interactions on campus with adults or students, they have them on. And that's in their actual overall contract, which they have to follow.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So is it not in this contract that we're looking at as far as body cams?
So the verbiage that we have in the contract, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's something like they'll follow in our MOU, they'll follow their all contract for their actual SAC sheriff or Folsom PD. So it doesn't specifically cite, Mr. Clark, that they'll always have their body cams on. That's something we had talked about adding this time around. But because we have about 6 or 7 tweaks like that, we'll add them when we do the brand new, if we do a brand new MOU. So if it does cite that they have to follow everything. So I don't know how.
But it's not in this one, but you're saying that you're gonna add it to, I mean.
I'm not doing a very good job explaining
Right.
this. So
Can I
jump in, Sean.
Sure. So as a required duty for both of those departments, it is required that anytime they engage, they are required to have their body cameras on. So it's a requirement as a peace officer.
Right.
And so the language says they will assign school sites as qualified peace officers. So under those duties, therefore, by default, they are required to have their cameras on. So we didn't make the request to adjust the contract. We'll make it clear in the next contract, but it is a requirement as a peace officer within those two, both the SAC sheriff and the Folsom Police Department, Rancho Cordova Police Department under the SAC sheriff require that. And therefore, it falls under peace officer. So we didn't feel like we had to obligate it. It fell under the requirement as a peace officer.
Okay.
So that's why it's just not clearly defined, but it is a requirement of their duties.
All right, that
So,
just makes me
yeah, no, it's
little
there,
nervous,
it's there, and we
but-
can definitely follow up on it if there was ever a concern or an issue with it. So.
Okay. And then the other question that I had was, now this include other activities, i.e. football games, like where, at Cordova, or if there's a big one at Folsom. Is that a different pay scale, or is that under this contract?
You know what? I'm not sure on that one if the SRO over coverage. I don't believe it covers those activities. I think we can maybe work with them and ask, but that would be above and beyond what this contract outlines. I think that's for the school day is what the SRO contracts are for.
So we're looking at an additional cost.
Well, I don't believe we normally have them on site during those events. So
The football games?
yeah,
Oh, yes, you do.
I don't know. under this contract that they're there or not. I can't
Oh,
speak
yeah,
to that.
and that's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
but they've never billed us extra for it.
Oh.
So there is no billing beyond this request. So if they're doing it, then they're maybe included in as part of it.
That's making me
Or they
smile
like
a
to
little
watch
bit more.
football.
Okay, well, yeah, they're there for the game. I get it. For sure. Okay. All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer a couple of comments on the SRO MOU. Excuse me. I'm getting over some sickness. I know the possibility of not renewing the MOU is low at this point, but I'd love to share some reasoning behind, why I don't support campus policing. The Southern Poverty Law Center finds that students in schools where SROs are stationed are 5 times as likely to be arrested than students in schools without SROs. As stated in a past board meeting, most of our SRO infractions are related to substance abuse, so we are criminalizing students, primarily students of color, for issues that should be dealt with by administration and counseling. And I also want to talk a little bit about the actual content of the MOU. I know a lot of the changes that we talked about at the Safety Advisory Committee will hopefully be added to the next contract, but I think it's important to note that regardless, I think it would be helpful to have an additional comment within the MOU, preferably towards the top for emphasis, about remaining accountable to the community and protecting the well-being of our marginalized youth. For example, we might include a quarterly check on rates of discipline and set scheduled meetings in which SROs are assessed for their effectiveness and performance. If we are to have SROs on our campuses, they should be a part of conversations about equity and improving outcomes for marginalized students. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll take it out for public comment. Is there anyone in the public? How about online? No? All right, back to the board. Any final comments before we vote?
Yeah, final comment, and just one other question, and Board Member Ria mentioned accountability, which is kind of a concern to me. I know back, and it's probably been a year and a half or a couple of years, that we used to get reports on site visits, incidents. What happened to those? I mean, because I have not seen those, and I know that we talked about holding our SROs accountable. That's part of the accountability process, I would think, to update the district or the board of sites that they visit. So I'm just wondering, where did that go? Because it looks like it just fell off somewhere, right?
That one I would have to defer on. I'm not sure.
I know we talked about that in our safety advisory. It had a lot to do, I think, with some redactions that had to happen. It was like a very labor-intensive process for them to redact some of the information that we weren't privy to. So I think that what we kind of talked about was that we would do more like statistical check-ins, maybe like on a quarterly basis for interactions. That's kind of what I'm recalling. I don't know if you guys recall the same thing that I did.
Was that it? It's working.
Don, you've been getting that data, but I don't know, have you been submitting any of that this year? No, not this year. Okay. We have shortened it a little bit because a lot of the data was, especially if there was a public request, it had a lot of personal data. So I know that it's a lot briefer this year, but it still has the items that you mentioned, if there were the mandated reports, any arrests. So we have all that information that we can provide. I think the goal next year is to provide quarterly safety reports for all the schools and the board, and those would include violent incidents, those would include arrests, those would include vandalism, those would include anytime catapults being used, there's an emergency or crisis, and the goal is to have those quarterly reports for not only the board, but broken down per site. So we don't wait till the end of the year going, why didn't we add resources at school X? And why does school B have so many more resources when they're not showing the data? So,
okay, I'm just like, if there's an incident, and it's a big incident, I'll just throw a school out there. Vista, not to pick on you guys, but if there's a big brouhaha or whatever out there. Shouldn't the officers be submitting a report to us, to the district? Should that not be shared with the board at all? I know it can be sometimes labor intensive, but I mean, you know, what I'm thinking about, I just don't want it downplayed. I want the board to take a look at it, not, oh, everything was fine or whatever, but, and it doesn't have to be in the specifics of names or anything else like that. Just like to know what's going on.
Right, and I think anytime we have an arrest or a serious incident, we do, through Dr. Collegian, let you know. I know I always, either myself or DT, always reach out to our exec cabinets.
Okay.
And I know Dr. Collegian's the one that submits that, but we can, I guess, formalize that more, or we can have a discussion?
Well, what we do is we take the summary of what the law enforcement officer has given us. If they've told us a specific citation, then that becomes part of our report that I share with the board.
Okay.
I don't share an actual police report, but
Right.
I'm sharing a summary of it.
Okay.
If
All
there
right.
is one.
And then last thing, arrest. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? I'm just kind of curious. Can you get us those statistics and a breakdown?
I can provide you all that when I do the 5-year, and I can give you the last 5-year
Perfect.
for arrest as well.
Okay. All right.
I do want to let you know, we had a little bit of dirty data going back about 5 years ago. So where they were not all being entered with fidelity. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So you are kind of comparing a little bit of apples to oranges, but the last 3 years, I can say we're definitely starting to enter more with fidelity, and we're looking at those on a quarterly basis, my office, and working with the schools to make sure that those are being documented.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. In response to Ria's suggestion, is it possible to include those SROs in our equity conversations, in our equity meeting? Can they become a part of that team, or at least involved in those conversations?
I can speak in the general terms of course, we can always request them to participate in those processes. I don't know exactly how they would fit into our equity sessions and trainings, but we could definitely have discussions about that as part of the process of the contract going forward. So everything would be available, potentially open up of what we would like and how we would want the SROs to interact with the district and the students. And that will be something as part of the safety discussions.
Okay. Scott, I did have a quick question. When will this new quarterly report, what will be the first time we'll get it? After the first quarter in the fall?
Yeah, that's our goal. The big theme that we've realized we're falling short is communication. Even within this own building on all the work that we've done with safety. And last night we spent a lot of time with the safety committee, and sometimes when you don't hear about things, you assume nothing's happening. But also with data, when you don't hear that serious incidents are happening, you think everything's good. And even though we're reporting the most serious, the arrest to the board, you might not be hearing about other dangerous situations. And I think that's something that the board needs to be aware of. And they need to know what schools are really having a significantly higher amount than others. Because we know that our staff that work with students with trauma have trauma themselves, and we want to support not only the staff but the students at those schools. So, and we do that through you. So what our discussion really was, how can we do a better job communicating with students? How can we do a better job communicating with staff? And how can we do a better job communicating with families? A huge part of that would be, starting with the board and our principals and sharing that data. So yes, long-winded, first quarter of fall would be our first submission to the board and principals.
So that was somewhere October-ish.
Yeah, so a little bit after the quarter, because we want to really break it down. So, we have to get it in a couple weeks ahead before the board. So yeah, I would think the end of October.
Okay. Superintendent, might the board be able to get like a mocked up version of what the report will look like in case any of the board members have maybe some suggestions? on the,
Yeah, we can put together a template of what data would be included in there and share it ahead of time.
okay. I appreciate it. Other questions?
One more. Would it be possible to like maybe have DT come up and do a little presentation on just kind of what's been happening for the last year? Because I think there's been a lot of work done. I think it'd be good just to like inform the public and the rest of the board with that.
Yes, and that's a really good suggestion. And when we have our district advisory committee meetings, we have 2 board members that serve on our advisory committees. And what I typically do in my Friday update is share with you the presentation. And yesterday's district safety advisory committee meeting had a wonderful summary of all that's been accomplished this year. And also, you know, besides the accomplishments and the bright spots, the grows, the areas that we need to focus on. And we had 30 people at that advisory committee, and that's been a steady attendance. So please make sure you take a look at that, because there was some really valuable information of what's been accomplished. We still have work to do ahead of us, but we'll add the quarterly report to that.
All right.
Just excuse me, just a comment here. I would say off the bat, I am planning on voting yes on this tonight. It's hard to believe this is our 3rd round of this MOU. But what I do want to say is that when we put this in place, we did have some other ideas around hiring DT. And part of, at least part of my vision for that was that DT would work on bringing us some alternatives. I tend to agree with what Mr. Voss has mentioned tonight. I don't think that SROs are our best option for safety on our school campuses. So I would like to see, as we are launching into a new MOU next year, certainly if we are going to continue with SROs, all of the changes that the safety committee has worked on. But I would also like to see what are some of our alternatives. DT by next year will have had a couple of years under his belt to get the lay of the land, to understand what's going on in this district. So I believe it's worthwhile to vote yes on this. This is what we had really kind of talked about 3 years ago. But I'm doing so with the understanding that voting yes on this tonight is not a long-term commitment to our SROs or to this contract itself. I would like to see us continue to push into changes on this.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, I do agree with Mr. Hui on that. I mean, I do plan on voting yes, but I just want you folks to remember now, going to be, and I don't want to bring the doom and gloom down to you, but, you know, we're going to be looking at some budget issues. And, you know, we might have to make some cuts, and I want to keep it as far away from the classroom as possible. I know safety is important, and you can't put a price tag on it, but we got to start looking at some things and other options of how we can make this work. So that was it.
Yeah, I also had a question based off of that. I was wondering if it would be possible for us to hear a little bit more about the progress of the safety specialist position that we've been piloting. I know that that was part of the contract when we approved it last year, was that we would make sure that we're keeping updated with how the pilot model is going, so we can see if it's possible in the future to pursue that as an alternative to SROs. So I'm wondering if maybe at a future board meeting we could hear a little bit more about how that's been going.
Good suggestion.
Superintendent, you know, I know the first meeting in August, tends to be pretty busy, but if maybe the first or the second meeting in August, we could have that presentation by DT.
Yes, we can
Okay.
do that.
All right.
I think that's a good suggestion.
All right. All right. It looks like we're finished. Is there a motion to approve the second renewal?
I'll move.
All right. Motion by Board Member Lorette. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Hui. Superintendent, will you take the roll, please?
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
No.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Item B, approve the school facility needs analysis. Superintendent.
Yes, and the next 3 items go sequentially in a certain order. as we bring forward the information on statutory fees and the reason that we're proposing to increase those fees to keep up with the growth and development of homes being built and future school facilities as a direct impact of the new development. So the first step is approving the school facility needs analysis, and if there's any specific questions, I'll ask Mr. Washburn to address those.
Any questions? No? It is a discussion action item. Is there any public comment? How about online? All right, back to the board. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Board Member Clark,
I'll second.
second by Board Member Hui. Superintendent, if you'll take the roll.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 12, which is a public hearing. So I'll have to gavel into that. All right, this is a public hearing regarding the authorization of the statutory school facilities fees per Governance Code Section 65995.5 and 65995.7, and authorization of immediate implementation of the statutory school facility fees. Superintendent.
Yes, this is part 2 of this process, and the public hearing allows the public to comment on the school facility needs analysis and levying level 2 fees. The resolution that will be passed, or that was passed, will remain in effect for a year until April 19, 2024, when the level 2 fees will come back to you and need to be rejustified. And this information was also shared with the public 30 days prior to the public hearing today, but this is also a chance for public to comment.
Okay, is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this item? How about online? All right, the board will be discussing the resolution on the next item, so we will close the public hearing. All right, and that takes us to item 13, discussion action, adopt resolution number 05-18-23-45, establish alternative section 65995.5 fee and alternative section 65995.7 fee. Superintendent.
Okay, this is part 3 of the process. Board approved the school facility and needs analysis. We opened the public hearing, closed it, and now this is the resolution to establish that alternative section for the levying level 2 and level 3 developer fee rates.
Might there be just a brief summary by staff on this item?
Sure. Mr. Washburn.
We're going to let me off that easy, huh? Good evening. This is actually the resolution approving the level 2 fee. The fee is going from $674 to $738 in the Rancho Cordova SFID 1 area, and then it's going from $757 to $889 in the the Folsom SFID 2 area. The fee increases primarily contributed to the substantial high cost increases in the last year plus in the state grant amount. The state SAB, State Allocation Board, does a grant increase every year, yearly grant increase for matching funds. We include that grant increase, the cost of site acquisition, and the cost of site development, and those increases are contributable to the increases in the fee yearly, and those are all included in the fee justification document.
Quick question. So SFID 1, that is north of Highway 50 in Rancho Cordova. Is it also south of 50 in Rancho Cordova?
Yes, it includes the whole SFID area 1, which is really the Cordova High School attendance area, which goes from Prairie City north and south to the western portion of the district, and then the eastern portion, which would be the Folsom area all the way over to the El Dorado County line, both north and south.
Both north and south.
And
Just out of curiosity, I know we have, what, 5 SFIDs?
Yes.
How come 1 and 2 versus like 3, which is south of?
So we
50
have 1 and 2. Those are the original that was established based on the high school attendance areas. And it's basically established because of the different land costs, site development costs, the cost to develop land because we have asbestos and topography in the Folsom site areas that contribute to higher costs and higher land costs. So we didn't want to have those costs contributed to the Rancho Cordova development because it's specific to that geographic area. So we have a specific fee, justification, and cost associated with those higher costs, and then we have a lower fee based on the lower land value and lower site development costs within the Rancho Cordova SFID area.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other questions from the board? Okay. I think that's all. So I guess for the, actually, take it out for public comments. No, all right. So is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
A motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Hui. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Srivastava. Superintendent, if you'll take the roll.
Yes. Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
If we can leave it open just so that she can.
Okay.
And I'll vote aye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Lofthouse, we just, okay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good time.
That takes us to agenda item 14, discussion. Item A, overview of Folsom Cordova Unified School District Bond Program. Superintendent.
Yes, our district, as we were just hearing from Mr. Washburn, has created 5 distinct areas of facility bonding called school facility improvement districts. And each of these districts have separate facility bond measures, debt service, and areas of assessed value, but they overlap each other, as we just mentioned. So the presentation this evening and the information documents created for the board will highlight the current outstanding debt and the future plans for the 5 SFIDs and provide the board recommended next steps needed to continue to fund future facility projects identified by staff. And with that, I'll welcome Mr. Martin to do the introductions. And we also want to thank Danielle Aruba from KNN Financial, who will be joining us in this presentation as well.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And so separate from this 20-page presentation we're going to go over, you also got a thick packet that actually detailed each of the SFIDs and the projects associated with them. We generated this kind of similar to the reorganization conversation to give you kind of a historical perspective of all of the activities and information that we could provide in one central location for each SFID so that you can go back to those. So hopefully you find that useful. I do want to recognize the efforts of Jerry Wickham, Matt Washburn, who provided a lot of the backup detailed historical information, and then Danielle Aruda, who is here with KNN this evening to help answer any specific bond-related questions. She also did a ton of this work, this presentation, a lot of the projection information that we see here, all of that came from her and her team, and so we want to recognize all their efforts as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a very light level dive on these, so we're going to go at a high level. If you want to dive in, we can speak specifics. The intent of this presentation is really to understand the 5 SFIDs, kind of where we are on bonding on those and the debt service that our taxpayers are paying on this, and then kind of where we are going forward, right, looking at the future. We really see this as a first conversation in a multi-step process, talking about not only the need for future bonds, but also talking about our facility master planning, and we'll dive into those conversations. There will probably need to be a board study session to really get into the meat part, and I know you guys will probably want to dive into some of that, and we can talk at a high level, but a lot of these things are unknown at this time, and Chris is shaking his head because he's done this multiple times, right? So for the rest of you, welcome aboard. All right, so we'll go ahead and start. So, and I kind of just spoke to the 4 areas, so we're going to talk about each of the SFIDs. There are 5. We are going to talk about if we were to look at hypothetical bond scenarios, going out for bonds for SFID 4 and 5, and then the bond cycle timeline, and then potential next steps, all right? So looking at SFIDs, these are small numbers in a lot of places. So what I'm going to speak to is SFID 1 and 2 were the original two areas that were generated to create, more or less go out for bond debt for facility purposes in our district, okay? So FSFID 1 was really the boundaries of Rancho Cordova, or more or less Cordova High School, when this was generated in 1997. SFID 2 was generated on the next page for the Folsom High School boundaries. There was no Vista at the time. And so they used those boundary lines to determine the area that more or less the taxpayers would be collected on, and then therefore support the schools within those boundaries. And the reason why they separated that out is when they did a district-wide bond, the bond did not pass, okay? And so we talked about that as part of that reorganization piece. So SFID 1 was created, and SFID 2 right around the same time. SFID 1 passed 2 bonds. You can see there was a measure in 1997 and then another measure in 2002. At this point, those bonds have been exhausted. There's no dollars left on them. All that's left now is the debt service payments. And you can see that will be paid out until October 1st, 2029. One of the things I really want to identify when we start looking at the dollar amounts and the numbers associated with it is bonding capacity is really tied to assessed value of the area that you're taxing, okay? Because it's a percentage of that amount that you tax. So in SFID 1, you see that the amount of the assessed value is about $9 billion, right? And when we go to SFID 2, you see it's about $17 billion. So it's about twice as big. So often you will see that either one of two things, either the amount that can be accessed or the bond amount that you can go out for can be greater, and that the tax rate will potentially be the same or lower. And so that is something you will need to notice when you look at these two bondings. So we do have two issuances that are outstanding until, what did we say, 2029 for SFID 1, and the tax rate is about $45 on SFID 1, okay? And that over time, that normally will fade off as the other measures fall off unless the debt service is balanced that way. And we'll look at that in the future. I will show that later on, okay? Don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So the next one is SFID 2. This was covering the Folsom community, and you can see both SFID 1 and 2 go south of Highway 50. You can see that area, so in this map here, you can see the Folsom area. It's more or less Prairie City East. And then you see that it also covers both north and south of Highway 50, okay? And that's why we changed over when we went to SFID 3, 4, and 5. So we'll talk about that. That's why SFID 1 or 2, for the purposes of debt service, are pretty much end of life. We don't have any dollars left, and really what we're looking at is the debt service outstanding. And you can see the remaining debt service there is about $24 million. There's the taxpayer rate is about $20, and that will be paid out in 2029 as well. Okay. SFID 3 was created in 2006, and that was generated because of all of the development, Westboro, Glenboro, which was the area that was Aerojet. That was technically the first area that was supposed to be built out, and that would have been within the Rancho Cordova area. Then of course, now we have Folsom Ranch being built out. And so SFID 3 was generated to more or less create a new tax base area based off of all of that growth and all the new development, all the schools that we planned out because of that. Obviously, that overlaps with SFID 1 and 2, and that's why you see SFID 4 and 5 generated later to be able to use for modernization of our existing campuses north of Highway 50 and west of Sunrise, okay? And so that kind of just overviews how all of those things overlap. So keep in mind, if you are in SFID 3, potentially you will also be paying for SFID 1 or 2 because it overlaps you, okay? Same thing with if you're in SFID 4 or 5, you're going to be overlapping. If you're SFID 4, you're overlapping with SFID 1. And if you're 5, you're overlapping with SFID 2. That clear as mud? Right? So, but the thing you want to make sure you understand is for tax purposes, for our taxpayers, our community members, they are paying taxes on multiple SFIDs depending on where they overlap, okay? So SFID 3, obviously this is the big boy. This was the bond associated with $750 million, past Measure M, and this, at this point, has an AV of $3.6 billion. But when all of the homes are built out, obviously we will be billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars more than that. And you can just see in the short time that we've gone from 1.5 billion as recently as 15, 16 to 3.6 billion. And that's because of all the new development growth. That's how you really grow your assessed value. Existing home sales it will grow at somewhere 3 to 5%, maybe 6%. But when we get double-digit growth, that's because of new construction. All right, and so you can see right now where we are with SFID 3 with Measure M. Our current tax rate is $275, and that actually dropped. It was up over $300 last year. It was $388. And the reason for that was the way we had timed the way we actually sell, when we sell part of the bonds. So we have $750 million in authorization. That's more or less the amount of debt that we can go. But we're capped at certain things. We have to spend the money within a certain window of time, right? We're capped at the percentage of the total assessed value within the SFID and within the district. And so we have to keep those things in calculation. And so what we try to do is we are looking also out in forecasting, working with developers of when the homes will come online so that the assessed value increases so that the tax rate gets spread out over more people, right? And so what we did was the first few years of the last bond issuance, we made it so that the rate was lower. We had bonds that were pushed out to further out before we had to start paying those bonds. And we thought that by the time those larger bonds would have to start being payments, we'd have a more assessed value because all these houses were supposed to be built out based off of the information we received from the developers. And those things didn't happen. And that's why a tax rate where we were hoping to be probably closer to around $100 or so, I think the language originally said, an estimate back in 2006 was, $70, but that was in 2006 dollars. And how the house values did not appreciate in that time because houses weren't built during that time. So again, when we talk about the fact that Aerojet, which was Glenboro, that was supposed to, most of that should already been built out by now. We should already have a high school built. We should have several schools built. I'm sure Matt and Jerry can speak to some of that historical piece of it. But that's why those tax rates happen, because we built the debt service based off of the information we had, and the assessed value didn't get generated. We're glad to see that it's dropping, and we hope it stabilizes and continue to go down. But that is kind of where we are right at this moment with SFID 3. All right. So continuing on, SFID 4 was generated around the same time as SFID 3, and this is now more or less the Rancho Cordova area, excluding the area that would be covered under SFID 3. Okay, so it's more or less west of Sunrise on the south side all the way up to the district boundaries. Okay, and you see there we had passed 2 bond measures there, Measure N and Measure P. And so when Measure N was passed, we actually went out for an amount of $125 million, and we actually still have some bond authorization there, $60 million. However, remember how we said there are certain things that cap how much bond issuance we can actually do. And where we're at right now is we have a situation that we are capped on the amount that we can do based off of the assessed value, or I'm sorry, it's actually in this scenario, it's based off the fact that the tax rate cannot exceed $60 per 100,000 of assessed value. And we are actually a little bit above that. And the reason for that is the assessed value did not grow at the rate when those bonds were issued and the assumptions were made on the growth rates, they did not grow at that rate. And therefore, it more or less capped the amount we could access. And that's why actually Measure P was passed, because you can reset that $60 amount with each new bond measure. Does that make sense? So when you go out to a bond measure, the maximum, if you do a Prop 39 bond, which requires a 55% approval rate, you are capped at $60 for a unified school district per $100,000. That's the maximum you can do. And once you hit that, you can't sell more bonds until you get below that rate. You can do a waiver, but the state doesn't approve waivers for that, normally that kind of situation, right? They want you to go back out to your taxpayer, which is what the district did with Measure P. And Measure P is finishing up. And you can see here the remaining dollars on Measure P is about $250,000. That's an approximate because we're still outstanding, and that small print was Matt's request because he did not want to lock in on the dollar amount without a clear explanation that that's pending all of the quotes to finish up some of the repair work that we have at the Cordova High theater. And that was a project that was, you know, we had to negotiate some settlements to get that all cleared up. And so we're finalizing that. What that really means though is we really don't have any additional dollars to do modernization on our campuses, right? And so we really need to be looking at, okay, we have, and we're going to look at some of the list of all of the projects that we know we have with our existing Cordova schools, right? And how do you access the ability to do those projects would be going out for another bond, right? So, all right. Any questions on this one? Okay.
Sean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I see in the fine print under the 60 million in remaining authorization, you said not accessible until 2033. So the anticipation is that in 2033, we would be able to access?
Okay, so the way it works is in 2033, the remaining debt service for the on Measure N for the other bonds that have been sold will fall off. We will pay it all off. At that point, technically, yes, we could go out and access those dollars.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. So SFID 4, which is covering the Folsom area north of Highway 50. Again, they passed one measure. There is no remaining authorization, but there are dollars left. There's about $41 million left on those funds. Notice that this was in 2014, whereas SFID 4 was in 2006. So Folsom, on that side of the house, it's been much later, and that's why there's still dollars remaining. The bond issuance was at a later date. There's about $40 million left. That's mostly remaining state reimbursement funds for the most part for other projects. And so we have to keep that in mind as well. We're dependent upon the state having their portion. It's not really a match. I wouldn't call it a match anymore. They pay a portion of certain components of the projects once a school district meets either modernization qualification or new construction. In this case, this is all modernization, right? And so we have about $40 million that we have, and we probably have, I believe Jerry shared with me, we do have some authorization for some other modernization projects, but we didn't put that there because at this point, until the state decides to pass another bond, which I believe they're going to put on the ballot, I think it might be $12 or $14 billion bond is what's moving forward through the legislature right now. If that passes, then we can, recognize potentially some additional reimbursement as well from the state for a couple other modernization projects. So that amount is there enough that probably can get us through for another couple of years. But we do need to look at that timeline, and I think when we're looking at a master plan, we want to review both because we need to decide what's the timeline for going out for a bond for potentially SFID 5. Because remember, now at this point, what you're looking at is SFID 4 and 5 are pretty much our existing schools, keeping those modernized, right? And getting the state money that potentially matches. You're not going to get a lot of developer fee money from these because these are built out communities now at this point, right? So the majority of the funding to keep the schools up is, the deferred maintenance pot we put in is about 3% of our budget. So about $9 million is all we have. That's for all of our maintenance for the entire district. That is not going to change out too many carpets, to be honest, right? When you multiply it out by the size of our district. And so really the only way we can continue to modernize and keep our facilities in the shape that you see today is because of these bonds, right? So we have to keep that in mind. All right. So couple hypotheticals. If we want to go out for a bond for SFID 4, here are just a list of just some top of our head list of projects. We want to be really clear. This is not all encompassing. This is not even close to all the needs we have that we could potentially identify. We know very easily when we look at kind of what bond proceed actions we could look at, we know we have needs that far exceed that, right? There's no question about that. But there's just a very, very simplified list of some of the things that we've identified that I know the board's discussed, that we've talked about. And what we do is we create a master facility plan, and we have a plan, but we would update that plan to reflect all of the needs on our campuses, right? Prioritize those because you want to ensure that every school within that area will get a portion of that project depending on the timeline, right? Ensure that we make sure that we see something at all school sites as part of this process as well. And then also, of course, with the developing changes of our population centers and what school sites are needing. Obviously, you've seen the changes we've done at Cordova High. They have still more to go there. So this is just an example of some of the things that would be potentially covered with this. So if we were to want to go out And what Danielle did on this is she kind of looked at them kind of going to the extreme maximum, what would the authorization potentially be based off of what we would consider a relatively conservative assessed value growth rate. Because again, assessed value is the key to determine how much money we can access. What she broke out is about $146 million, right, in 4 issuances over a 10-year span, in essence. And what that would allow us to do is access $146 million. Now, the reality of what that can actually get done, that's where that assessment has to go into play. And as we saw when we have had the last few years double-digit construction cost increases, it doesn't go as far as you think it will, right? And we also have to meet all the requirements of the State Department of Architecture, right? The Department of State Architecture, DSA. And so when someone thinks at home, I can put up a wall and it costs me $500, when we put up a wall, it costs $10,000, right? We are the most heavily regulated other than healthcare when it comes to building of facilities, right? And that's not a bad thing, but it comes with a cost. And we have to recognize that cost when we build, right? Because I know the numbers seem very large, and they are. And so one of the things we also noted in here is that we are, this proposal right now is capital interest bonds only, not capital appreciation bonds. So if you're familiar with CABs versus CIBs, CABs were a hot ticket item because what it does is it defers the principal payments till the end. And so you get very large interest payments associated with that. Some of our past bonds have been CABs. And the benefit of that is when you don't have assessed value, it allows you to access more dollars earlier, right? But the downside is if the assessed value doesn't grow, you have a much larger interest-related payment associated with that for the time. Well, you'll have it either way, but there are times where CABs are needed when you need certain cash flow and certain access to the dollars. So I don't want to speak poorly of them. I just want to say people have used them poorly. How's that sound? So there's other factors here that we're making, but if we maxed out at the $60, now remember, that $60 is on top of any existing debt service as well, right? And also realize that we can go anywhere up to 30 years on any issuance, but it's based off of the last issuance. So when you see the colored bars there, you see the different bonds. And so this is how the team structures debt service. So you see our first issuance is in 2025, and that's the red bar, but then you see it drops, right? So we're getting a lot initially, and then we pay a lot initially, and then we drop it down, because then what that does is it allows us to offer that second issuance and third issuance, and that's why it's tiered that way, right? And during that whole time, it looks like it's flat, we're paying $60, but we're actually getting more dollars because assessed value is going up, right? So that's kind of how that system works, all right? So when we now look at it combined, because SFID 4 overlaps with SFID 1, remember, we wanted to look at what the total amount would be to our taxpayers, right? And so if you look right now, our current combined rate is about $151 between SFID 1 and SFID 4. If we were to go out for a new measure, and we were to add that $60 in and you add everything, I think that first year, 2025, it says it's about $250 per 100,000 of assessed value, right? And then it drops from there. And we also have to remember when you're looking at assessed value, that's per $100,000. So when it's a home, say a $500,000 home, they're paying $250 on every 100,000. So it's 250 times 5. So what would that be? $1,250, right? But if it's a $1 million home, you're paying $2,500, right? So it's based off of your assessed value of your home that you have. So, all right. So you have to keep in mind that by itself, it's only $60, but when you combine it with the other outstanding debt, it starts adding up, and we want to recognize that. And so one of the things as we move forward through this process is what is the appetite of our community, right? We would want to get a survey as part of this process if we want to move forward and find out, do you feel comfortable with $60? Do you feel comfortable if these are the projects that we're prioritizing? Do you feel like the district's doing, using these dollars and being good stewards of the tax? Those are all things that you survey. I've gone through a couple of different bond issuances, and these are all things you're looking for and to gauge your community investment and interest in supporting this, because you don't want to put the effort and everybody's time into something if it isn't behind you, right? So, any questions on this one? So this is the first of 2 scenarios. Okay, so here's SFID 5. This is the Folsom side. Again, These are probably a little more generic because we are still doing projects with existing dollars. So we know going out, we still have modernization needs. You can see here, I think one of the big ones would be safety. That's a common one when we talk about fences and those kind of things, and people ask how we pay for that, or upgrades to our pool, or we have a $2 million potential upgrade cost to the Vista pool. Well, we have no ongoing funding source to pay for that. We have annual maintenance that we work with the city to provide, but we really don't have anything built in. The other thing is when we talk about our tracks and our fields, one of the funding sources for us for many, many years has been the cellular towers that we have on our campuses. We've used those to fund a lot of those projects. But honestly, majority of those contracts have either stopped, they're putting their towers in different ways, they don't need the big giant infrastructure, they can do it in different ways, or their consolidation of the tower, cell industry has impacted that as well. A lot of them all are on the back of one tower. Verizon does T-Mobile, I think they also do Xfinity Mobile and all these things. They're all on the same network. So it's not like you have 5 different contracts, back in the day. So we see less dollars being received in that scenario. And so those are dwindling up as well. So those are the things we got to keep in mind, that without these dollars, we can't keep and maintain those things, or it's an impact on the general fund, right? So here's SFID 5, same idea. If we were to do the $60 threshold, again, you see quite a bit more. You see $332 million available, but that's because the AV rate is so much larger. It's $16 billion in AV. Same assumptions here. Again, no cabs and the rates that we're looking at there. And so you would see 4 issuances there of about 83 million. Again, this is at the peak level. This would be if we go out to the max and everything else. Normally, when you work with your community, they don't like the max. They like something a little more conservative, and so we want to keep that in mind as well. And so, again, SFID 2 and 5 overlap in this scenario. Combined, right now, it's about $70 with the additional new issuance, we'd be about $145, $146 in the 2025 range. Again, I think we want to recognize that the need on this site or within SFID 5 is not as time sensitive as SFID 4, because SFID 4 we're finishing up the bond, whereas SFID 5 we still have a little ways to go. But you probably don't want to wait until the last moment, so it may be something we want to look at. We can talk about that. And so just talking about the bond timeline. So with a Prop 39, a 55% bond, we have to do it at a major election cycle. So that would either be the primary election in March, which has gotten moved up. That used to be later. You remember that used to be June, but we've moved up our primary cycle, so now it's March. So we would either have to go in March, which seems very close to me. So I think you guys would assume the same. That's a pretty tight timeline, or November. Those would be the 2 opportunities. If we were not to look at that, you would have to wait until 2026. That's the next opportunity, which seems pretty far down the road at this point, right? So I think you're looking at a 2024 potentially timeline. So there's a whole list of things, actions we can do. We won't dive into that too much unless you guys have specific questions. Here's a sample schedule if it was March. Really, the date that the board would have to make a decision and actually pass the resolution would be December 7th. So that's just kind of giving you a timeline of that, right? If we were to look at a November election, you have up until August 2024. So you pretty much have the whole school year, this school year, to have that time. There are a lot of moving pieces in that. Let's just go back here. Obviously doing a poll, figuring out your master facility plan, the dollar amounts you need, what you have available, what is the capacity you want to do. You want to get community members involved in the bond committee, right? Because you want to have a campaign. If you've not been on a campaign as a board member, you will get to feel how many miles you will walk, knocking on doors and talking to folks about the bond, right? Because one of the biggest advocates for it would be all of you, your elected officials. And so we try to get sponsorships through the city and everybody that we can find who will sponsor those types of things. So next steps timeline, where we're at this point is really tonight we are having a discussion. We would love to get direction from the board of gauge the level of interest. Do you want us to start moving forward so that we can use this summer to start engaging for some of these things? A couple of areas to just note, we were going to do these things anyway, but if the board wants us to look at doing our master plan and those things, what we would like to do is go out for a request for proposal for architectural services and for facility master plan. I know the board asked when we've done that last. We would also go out for proposals for financial advisor services, the stuff that K&N does now for us. We want to make sure, it's been a while since we've done those things. We want to make sure that we are in line with the marketplace and that we have the best folks on a board. We would also want to look at doing a study session maybe in August to do a deeper dive with the board on facilities and next steps. And then at that point, if that's really the action, we're looking at a bond, then probably monthly we would be giving facility updates of where we are in the bond, in the process. If we get to the point where we're actually doing the campaign, we will actually have attorneys involved because there is a very specific responsibility of what we can do while we're in the district as employees and as board members and what we can do outside of that. And we have to learn all of those things because we don't want to have any conflicts of interest. So those are kind of some of the processes that would be involved if we wanted to move forward. So hopefully this gives you kind of an overview and where we are, and we can have conversations, ask questions. We have the whole team here.
Let's start with the students to see if they have any questions. All right, Board Member Lorette, any questions? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in Loft House, sorry. I skipped, sorry. Yeah, it's out of order, sorry.
I'm okay right now.
Okay, Board Member Clark?
Sean, I have a question, and with all the talk of possibly looking at a district split down the road, how does this come into play? Especially with, you know where I'm getting at with this, but how does that come into play?
Well, I think it obviously could play in, there's different levels of that. If your question is if we moved forward and we passed the bond, how it would come play? It would come in play with all the other bonds. We would obviously do an analysis of the assets and the bonds and the assessed tax, and that would be a conversation. And there are smarter people than I that would help us figure those things out, right? With regards to going out for the bond, I will say if people are unsure about how their dollars might be split between a district split, those kind of things, it may turn people away from wanting to vote yes for the bond, right? And that might be something we would have to build into the poll question if that was something we wanted to do, right? That would be more of a poll, interest of the voters, whether they support or not, or they have concerns. That would be the question there.
Thank you. I was just asking that for clarification, but thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Actually, just one quick question, just a follow-up. I apologize for going out of order. But if there was a split, because we're talking about SFID 4, that's much cleaner because it's all within Rancho Cordova. If we were talking about SFID 3, that would be complicating.
Yes, you're right there. I will say that SFID 4, and there's an assumption there that because there is some area that is unincorporated in neither city, that's where there's a little ambiguity. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Okay, no, I get that. Yep. Basically the Mayfair area.
Right, yeah, exactly. And now, right now, there's not homes there.
Right.
So it may not be an issue, and we can clarify that if that's a concern, but there definitely is, there is unknowns, and anytime someone feels unknown and they're being taxed, that those things normally don't go hand in hand. But it's worth having a conversation about. It would be part of the polling and analysis we would want to do.
Okay, there.
Yep, you got it.
Board Member Lorette?
Yeah, quick question. Commercial developer fees, how do those play into any of this? Like, do we have a pot of commercial developer fees that we have that we can, like, some of these things are potentially on this list that we could start right away?
So we do have developer fees. I can't speak to the commercial side of it, but the regular developer fees we have for building, those are associated with the developer study, which is based off of new home construction and the impact of that on your existing facilities and capacity for those new students. So like at Cordova High, say, we could potentially use a portion of our developer fees to do some of those projects, but you have to have a nexus between the fact that that is capacity for these new students coming in. normally modernization of an existing campus, just to keep the campus up and do the roofs, that's not going to be allowable with developer fees. That's where you potentially need bond dollars or those kind of things. However, we have used developer fees to help offset some, like when we added CTE programs at Cordova High, because that was an expansion of new program because of also capacity, right? So that's a capacity issue, and so we can justify that. You have to have that nexus there.
Got it.
So most of the time, especially on a site that doesn't have that new development being impacted by it, that's hard to justify that, right?
So, but with Rancho Cordova new schools being very far out, I mean, let's be honest, we're not going to be building a new high school in Folsom anytime in the next 5 years. As we get new people who move into those houses and are going to be going to Cordova High, as we need to expand, we could potentially lock into those dollars.
Yes, but the truth is the dollars that we collect are not enough alone to do those projects either. I mean, they could probably do like one of those projects, but not, normally we spread it across, right? We use it, it's like the three-legged stool that we've talked about before. Normally we try to, if it's a modernization and it qualifies, we try to use state money, we use the developer fees, and we use bond proceeds. That's how you really get those projects done.
Right, I'm talking kind of mostly projects like the library, where the library is like way too small actually for the capacity that we have now, and as we get more students in, that capacity is going to be, we're going to definitely exceed what we've got for library. So kind of modernization of like those types of buildings, like one-off projects.
You could look at that, yes. That could potentially, a portion of it at least, for sure.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And then this is probably more for Matt. On Measure P, do we have a priority list after the PAC? After we finish out the PAC, is there like a list of priorities that we have for that?
The $250,000? Yeah.
Yes, and we've kind of mentioned some of those before. We talked about there's the restroom facility at Cordova High School. We've talked about the library. We've talked about the improving the condition of the site workers there on that. We've talked about that. We've had there's a couple other things we've mentioned as well.
Well, we were also thinking about fencing.
Fencing, yes,
because that was a big
security
safety items normally come up to the top.
Station building.
Yes.
And the admin, but with 250,000, it's not going to go super far.
Right. So I'm assuming we'll probably kind of revisit that question probably after the summertime, after we kind of finish off the
after we finish the recipe, absolutely.
Okay.
Matt doesn't want us to lock anything in until he sees those.
Yeah, I'm not
bids.
holding you to it.
Yeah.
I'm not holding you to it.
I know how construction goes.
Yeah. Thank you for getting those repairs done. We appreciate that, though. Sure. Thank you.
Board Member Hui?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. You mentioned, the community typically doesn't want to max out on the bond. So does the community input come in during the polling, or is that something the election consulting team works with the community on? How's that?
Yeah. So normally what we do is we normally poll. One of the questions of the polling would be, normally it starts off with, do you want to have safe and beautiful schools in your community? Oh, yes. Okay, well, good. Next question. It goes that kind of chain of questions. It gets to the point, it says, now that you know about the bond, it's going to do technology, it's going to do safety, it's going to do all these upgrades to your school. How would you feel if you were to be assessed? And they say it, sometimes they say it like $6, for every, they do it in a way that makes it sound not as, versus $60, or for the cost of, a cup of coffee a day. Would you be comfortable with that? Would you be comfortable with that? And so based off of that, the survey team kind of, and one of the things the board will do is help define those questions, right? What are the things you want to know from the poll? But that would be the question is, and then normally what you historically see is when you give them a high, medium, and low, people normally like the medium or the low, and that's the truth of it, right? And so you want to be sensitive to that when you go out. Now, can we go over the amount we say we will? Yes, we can go up to the 60. We try not to. We build the bond based off of what we agree to. We say we will make every effort not to exceed 40. But you saw in some of those scenarios, we actually go over what we say, and that's because, again, we make assumptions on the assessed value. But one of the things that we do, and obviously you want to keep an eye on as well, is what are the factors we're using to build the assumptions, right? If you're super aggressive and you say, oh, it's going to grow 8% every year, well, yeah, then you can say you can go out to a lot more, and guess what? If it doesn't hit, then the taxpayer is burdened with that extra amount. So we want to be sensitive to that, and I working with Danielle, they know where we are as a district. I will say that through our leadership as a team, we are conservative on those assumptions, and we want to make recommendations that will not impact or hurt the taxpayer, right? And that's part of the conversation too. You're welcome. Someone asked Danielle a question. She's been patiently waiting.
Well, I don't know how much it's questions than observations. Well, yeah, actually, I do have a question here. So on the slide that shows the four breakouts, how bond would be split.
That one?
That one, yes.
Okay.
So 36,500,000 per series. The schools, the elementary schools that we're building in Folsom right now cost $70 million.
Yeah.
I mean, what exactly are you getting for the half of a cost of one school that we're building in Folsom? And the reason why I ask, I mean, because I saw the list, and and definitely on that list there are a lot of things we can accomplish. Yes, I agree. But what we're not addressing is issues that we have at Rancho Cordova Elementary and Mather Heights Elementary, our two oldest facilities in Rancho Cordova. Mather Heights was built in 1951. That's 72 years old. People who were born that year are well into their retirement. Just to put it in perspective. And, and then Rancho Cordova Elementary was built in 1956. That's 67 years old. These facilities, while they have been wonderful beacons of education for our youth in the 1950s and 1960s and 1970s and 1980s, through today, they're getting a little long in the tooth. And we really need to be looking at campus replacement, not new roofs, new paint, and that sort of thing. I don't know how $36 million is going to replace one of the schools, much less two of the schools, potentially. And, I've asked this question in the past. How old are these facilities? Do we expect them to last? Are we going to be celebrating a 100th anniversary of Mather Heights with the existing structure in 2051? I don't think these facilities were really designed to last that long. I think we need to have an honest conversation with the community in Rancho Cordova as to what do they want to see in their older facilities. Are they interested in just, some sprucing up, or are they interested in a wholesale, bringing the sites down to the ground and rising them up with something new? And if the second is the answer, how would we even go about that? Is it even possible? Because according to this, it doesn't seem like it's even possible.
So a couple things there. This is more of that deep dive question that we can dive into August. But at a higher level, there is the only other mechanism to access dollars would be, and I forget what even is a Prop 40 something bond. What is the?
Right, a Prop 46 election. With a Prop 46 election, it does require a supermajority for 2/3 vote, in which case there actually is no statutory maximum for your tax rate. However, given the tax rate sensitivity that some of the constituents have expressed, that may be a challenge, especially since SFID 4 overlaps with SFID 1. So in terms of trying to strike a balance in trying to give the constituents of Rancho Cordova the various capital improvements that they would appreciate, you also have to deal with the pool of what the tax rate is looking like. President Reed, I truly appreciate you pointing out, the various par amounts that we have suggested here, but again, this is purely a hypothetical. We're happy to, once the board has taken a look at their facilities master plan and prioritize various projects based off of community input and the like, to readjust these so that we're looking at potentially, maybe Series A is a larger issuance in which additional schools or whatnot can be financed. That will then impact the timing of our second issuance. But again, this would be an open conversation that we would have as we're looking towards the sizing of a potential 24 election. This is a first stab, so, you know, as we continue to get input from the board, we can go ahead and refresh this and provide something that's a little bit more tailored to not only what the constituents need, but also to what the board has looked at or insights that they have as well.
Prop 46, that would have to be on a major election cycle as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, it doesn't allow some of the activity, so you can't do furniture and equipment with that one. So you can build the building, but you can't put, so there are differences, nuances between that as well. And the supermajority, it being 2/3, it's the same as kind of passing a parcel tax. It's
sure.
So.
Did we pass any Prop 46 in any of the bonds?
Measure M.
Measure M.
And actually, the first measures.
All of the Rancho bonds actually passed by 2/3, previous bonds.
Well, I know the Rancho Cordova community has been very generous and been very supportive of bond measures in the past.
And the amount was also.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, $60, I mean, you know, another potential way to phrase it is, would you be willing to go see one Kings basketball game a year? I mean, it's basically a ticket for a Kings game. You know,
That's per 100,000. So if your house is 300,000, it's 3 tickets. But yeah,
three
we can
tickets.
work it.
3 tickets. But, you know, I mean, it's, don't get me started on that. All right, those are the questions that I had for right now, or in observations, if you will. Okay. So why don't we take it out for any public comments? Is there anyone from the public would like to talk about? No? How about online? No. All right. So Superintendent,
President Reed?
Oh, yes. Oh, please.
I have a question. I am also, I worked at Rancho Elementary for 1 year. My kids have gone through, I have a daughter at Rancho Elementary at right now. My concern, not necessarily a concern, but we may think that we know what would be good for the school, but I think that the teachers that work there are the ones that know best. I think that the teachers that my children have had, there are things that they want in their classrooms that they don't get, but they get things that they don't need. As an assistant to a SPED teacher, we received a whole bunch of things that were very expensive, but that we couldn't use in our classroom because it didn't make sense for our classroom. So there's money spent not talking to the teachers that need the things in their classroom. So I would suggest being able to talk with them and their needs and the things that they want. And I know that it could go millions of dollars, but it would be able to be directed in more of a correct way than what we think as parents or as people just in the public who don't really know what the school needs. But more than a facelift, it needs more. When I worked there, all the bathrooms went out. And as a parent, I wouldn't have known that. But as a teacher or assistant there, I knew that, you know. So there are those kind of things that we don't know about that need to be fixed and changed. So I would go more towards the teachers than the public, in my opinion. So thank you for your time.
Superintendent, is there an opportunity for multiple surveys? Obviously, you need a survey the actual taxpayers would be paying for it, but it does make sense to potentially survey the teachers and the employees within the facilities as well. Is that a possibility?
Well, I believe when we do the stakeholder surveys, we identify, how broadly and which groups we want to make sure that we hear from. And I think our employees are one of those stakeholder groups we definitely want to hear from.
Okay.
When we do the master facility plan, normally sites are surveyed as well about what their needs are at their sites.
Excellent.
We do that plan as part of the architect's work, so.
Okay. Please.
So I know this is probably not a popular question. Who are the stakeholders of Rancho Cordova? And the reason why I'm asking this is because I know there's a large percentage of renters that may not understand this because they hear my school's going to go ahead and get a new library. They're going to get new this, and they may not realize the after effects because their rent may go up, but they don't understand that because they don't understand this. So when you say stakeholders, it's like, is that explained when you do those surveys? That, it's actually very, very transparent because whoever that owns that building is going to pass that on to that renter or whoever is in whatever facility they are. So I don't know the percentages, and maybe Mark, you do, of renters versus homeowners. Right. And so, and do our stakeholder surveys go to the actual homeowners? And I don't think that's true.
We'd work with our financial counsel in that to make sure that if that's an identified group, we would, find a way to explain it that's understandable. This is complicated, for sure.
Right. And that's all I'm saying is that I want to make sure that the residents of Rancho Cordova understand that, yes, this is what is needed and everything else, but it does impact their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that everybody's looking out for those individuals.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Superintendent, what type of direction are you looking for from the board?
I think at this point, looking at next steps during the summer slide, if we go back to that slide, it sounds like we might have more questions. We want to dig deeper. And what Sean and I talked about is setting up a potential study session to go deeper. And between now and then, for the board to start thinking about some of those questions, and from our employees too. Good question from Jeanette, and how do we go about ascertaining that information from our community members, from our employees?
If we had a community study session, would we be able to hold it perhaps at the Cordova High Performing Arts Center, so it's right in the community, so that would make it easy for people to attend and participate?
Probably want to start here first.
Well, actually, yeah. So if there is interest in just starting to do the survey and we would want to then work through these other pieces, which is start working with an architect, do our RFP for that, start doing these steps, because I think that's something we want to have those folks who will be helping us with those plans be involved in the conversation. We can meet. Jerry and Matt can take notes, but the truth is we want someone who's going to be walking alongside us that will help us design and prioritize, and that's the person who's going to be doing that facility master plan for us, and also, the architectural services. So we definitely want to have those people involved in the conversation. So I think what we would hope for is if this is something that the board feels like this is something we need to start really diving into, we will focus our attention there, start working with these folks, get these documents out. We have lots of things that we can be doing. So we just wanted to make sure with the board that this is a priority for the board, a direction that you would like us to work on, and we can start working through some of these things. Now, ultimately, you might get community feedback and we might poll and we might get as far as that and you find out people don't have the appetite, but you have to bring people on to do those things. I don't think we would be able to get the information we need without some of these consultants to support us in this.
Got it. So in a way, I guess what you're looking for is an informal pull of the board, perhaps on the first bullet point, board direction to move forward on interest, not for a potential bond election.
Right. And the board, again, the timeline really is the board's not going to make that decision to go out for a bond until that December or August timeline, right? Depending on which cycle you're looking at. Right now, is there enough interest here? Is this information that we should be diving into? Should we be looking at that as a next step, and then obviously facilities as a team, and I will be starting this process and getting these things going. Right.
So is the board open to a poll right now? We can
Can I make some comments?
Sure.
I just want to say some things on facilities. I mean, right now, I think it's visibly obvious that we have a deep division in facility quality between the two halves of our district. The average age of Rancho Cordova schools is many decades older than the majority of Folsom schools, with the exception of, Blanche Springs and Theodore Judah. The difference is beyond startling, and it makes the Rancho Cordova neighborhoods less attractive as a place to live, depress property values, and inhibits our economic development. People move to places that have awesome facilities and a place for their kids to be able to grow and learn. If we're talking about Rancho Cordova Elementary, I think that's probably like one of the saddest locations I've been to. Was on a really rainy day, and even the awnings don't go up to the doors, so the poor kids have to come out and it's raining before they hit the awning. We've got Rancho Cordova Elementary with leaks and a 1950s design lacking any modern requirements for things like office space. I mean, the poor principal in there is in a tiny cubby hole, and the new vice principal will have to be across the campus. I mean, what kind of collaboration can you have between those two folks, in that particular design? Compared to new things like $80 million elementary schools in Folsom with collaborative space and small group learning opportunities. It's inequitable or even fair to require some of our poorest students with our most diverse students, who are also overwhelmingly English learners, to attend a 70-year-old outdated facility, while our wealthiest and least diverse students get to attend an $80 million best of its kind elementary school. It seems like it's a structural inequity that we need to really address. And I feel for those students, because they deserve those same kinds of facilities. I mean, when we can't open our library at Cordova High because there's no place to store our books, and it's during finals, where are they supposed to study? Some of those kids, that is the place where they go to study to be able to learn. They have no collaborative learning space in there. They can't even store their books. So I'm very passionate about this, and I understand that it possibly could cause some burdens on some of our families, but if you talk to the families, they're overwhelmingly, the ones that I've spoken to, would love to have the opportunity to improve those facilities for their kids so that they can go and they can have those same kind of creative spaces. It's just the SFID presents a scenario that's also troubling. Again, we're having Rancho Cordova dollars going to build schools that aren't, those dollars will be gone before they ever hit our Rancho Cordova schools. They will build our schools in Folsom, and that money will be gone before we have to look at a new bond for those schools. So I think that we really have to address this inequity that we've got going on. I mean, it's we continue to modernize, but it's even the modernizations seem like very small steps to really making those spaces that are needed for the kids to be able to thrive. And so I'm just really going to advocate that when we look at the list, that we're looking at things that are going to allow those kids to have the best opportunities. I mean, we've talked about windows. Windows have to be a priority. I mean, there's even teachers who said the bees come in because we have single pane windows and the bees are coming into the classroom. I mean, why is a teacher dealing with bees in the classroom? So it's I really feel like we really need to start looking at some of these structural facilities, because this is what's going to help them grow and thrive. And a teacher shouldn't be having to worry about a leak or ripping carpet or things like that. They need to be teaching our kids. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I agree. All right, let's take a poll of the board, at least for the purposes of giving direction to staff on whether to move forward on an interest for a potential bond election. Doesn't mean that we're committing to anything long-term. Let's start with the student board members. Board Member Perez?
Are we just
whether you would be supportive of giving direction to staff to look into the potential interests of a bond.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. I think that would be good. Yeah.
Board Member Srivastava?
I'm gonna say yes as well.
Okay. Board Member Lofthouse?
Yeah.
Board Member Clark?
Yes.
Board Member Lorette?
Yes.
Board Member Hui?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is item B, Governor's May Revised Budget 2023-2024 Overview. Superintendent?
Yes, last week, Governor Newsom released his May revision of the proposed state budget for 23-24. And we've got highlights of that budget and implications to our budget based on those projections. So with that, Mr. Martin's going to give us some of those high-level highlights.
Yes, and I want to thank CSBA for these beautiful slides that I procured and then more or less dropped in here. So the truth of the matter is the deep dive that we normally get with school services isn't until tomorrow. So I used the information I was able to gather from several different CSBA, AXA, CASBO, sharing information with regards to kind of the updates on the budget. We don't see a huge change from what the governor proposed in January, so we're going to talk about some of those changes. And some of the concerns that we had discussed, I think even just at the last meeting, will be coming to kind of a head that we anticipated. So looking at the budget, you can see here that the budget deficit in January was supposed to be 22 billion is what the governor projected. May revision increased that by 9.5 billion to 31 billion. What I would share is there is already concern with that number that the governor proposed. You can see my little added, this is my own little added note, that the Legislative Analyst's Office came out after the governor's budget proposal and noted that they project that the state deficit is actually $11 billion greater than what the governor's May revision did. So that's not good. That's probably the best way I can describe that. And say that there are obviously concerns with the financial soundness of some of the items that the governor is proposing, right? So, cost of living increase, COLA, did go up from the governor's proposal to 8.22%. That would be an additional $3.4 billion to LCFF, and then they're saying that they would also apply that to special education and other state categorical programs. So, and that's, I mean, honestly, that is the highest COLA I think we've ever seen, at least in my almost 20 years of doing this. But offsetting that COLA that the governor is proposing to fully fund, some of the ways he's balancing that is, if you remember, we just brought to you the art, music, instructional materials block grant. Remember what we said was, we're not going to really say what we're going to spend on because we don't know how, the governor was originally proposing cutting it by a third. The governor's proposal now is to cut it in half. So that is a concern. That would decrease our allocation from about 12.5 million to $6 million. Now, this is one-time money too. This is additional concern that we have. The governor is also wanting to reduce the learning recovery block grant by 30%, which originally he wasn't going to reduce, from 16 million to, or for us, it would be going from about 16 million to about $11 million. And of course, he still has to cut another 11 billion potentially once the budget gets done. So potentially all of these dollars could go away very easily. That's a concern. We are having some positions with learning recovery dollars. We have not allocated any of the art, music, and instructional materials dollars at this point, fortunately. A lot of districts have. And so this is also interesting in the fact that these are one-time money. We get this dollars, we'll never get them again, whereas the governor's using those dollars to backfill, to pay for this 8.22% COLA. That gives us serious concerns because after they use those one-time dollars, how will they fund that COLA the next year? And then the COLA on top of that, right? Because remember, this COLA is ongoing. So that 8.22%, it doesn't have a funding source. And we have a projected COLA in the out year of over 3%. So how does the governor fund all of those things? Now, we have rainy day funds and some other things, but it's definitely a house of cards very quickly. So we have concerns about all of those pieces. Additionally, this is money that was approved in the state budget last year. And we've not seen this before, where dollars, especially one-time dollars, have been taken after we've actually even gotten the dollars allocated to us. So now we actually receive the cash and we may have to hold it and send it back, which I've not actually seen that before as a methodology. I really question some of the accounting systems that are being used in this. And hopefully the governor's not watching right now, but if you are, Gavin, I'm not feeling great about this. I won't lie. So continuing on, governor is proposing an ongoing new program called the Equity Multiplier. We did look into this more. Originally, we thought we may have a site or two that would qualify. At this point, we don't believe any of our sites would qualify for this. It is based off of free meals only applications, and we don't have any sites that would make this. Again, I won't lie, this is in alignment with a legislator who was advocating specifically for some of the schools. And so we feel like this is more of a concession that the governor is doing. We thought he may pull this away, especially with the fact that there really isn't money to fund new programs. So I won't lie, this feels more of a political situation than a sound educational practice. I'm diverging a little bit here, but I want you guys to understand kind of where we are in this, that we're not feeling really great about this budget when it comes to some of the decision making, right? This one is actually a program that we don't know the final allocation to us as a district, but we're very excited about this. This will be a screening for dyslexia in early education students. And so this is something that has been in the pipeline for a while, but we're very excited about that one. So Universal Meals. Universal Meals was such an outstanding program that they ran out of money. And so fortunately, the governor is proposing to fully fund it for this year and next year because they ran out of money for this year. Our Joy McKetty told me this the day after she heard that they were going to fund this. She said, there's not enough money to fund this. So she knew. And fortunately, the state figured that out as well because we've had a dramatic increase in participation in our schools. And we see the benefits for students with this program. So we're very happy that they're going to fund this program. Final thoughts. So that was really it, kind of the budget. There isn't a lot going on other than those things. We have concerns about the COLA, as you kind of heard. The additional $11 billion that the Legislative Analyst Office is projecting, I think is probably the most sound number used. It's conservative, but it's sound. So we have concerns about where those cuts will come from. Again, even if the COLA is funded for this year, we have to look at what does that mean for the out years for the state and our ability to whether if the state can't afford the COLAs in the out years and we negotiate and do other staffing adjustments based off of this COLA. And so the governor's proposal will be in the budget that will be presented at the June 1st meeting with the full COLA. The one-time monies are being adjusted. Those actually received this year, so you'll see that in your estimated actuals decrease there because of those adjustments, and then we'll go from there. So, questions?
Questions from the board?
I have one question.
Yeah.
On page 4, with the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant, if memory serves me, we've already received half of the funding for the originally proposed amount?
Right.
So based on what's been proposed in May, we've received all of the funding that we'll receive. It could get lower by the time the budget actually comes out?
Correct. They could request us to reimburse back.
Okay. So I'm assuming then we will wait until we know exactly how much is in there until we start to allocate where that money's coming.
And keep in mind, separate from this, we are receiving additional dollars because of Prop 28. Remember that is the VAPA dollars that we will be receiving. Mm-hmm. However, the state at this point has not released any details. Again, I think I shared this last time. We were hoping that they might give us a resource number because we can't even put it in the budget this year in our financial system because they haven't given us a resource number. So the state doesn't quite know what the dollar amounts are, how we're going to, what the resource is. So we're not, in the budget that we will be bringing in next month, we will not have those dollars in the budget. So there will be some additional dollars there for music and arts, but we don't know yet any details. Okay. So sorry.
That's right.
More to come.
Other questions? Or observations, if you don't have any questions? This is obviously just discussion, but I will entertain any public comments. Any online? No? Okay. Remind me, so last year the COLA was 8 point.
You're going to ask me that, aren't you? I don't remember off the top of my head. 6. Deb Gregorian, everybody. I love her. 6.56. But what we had was we also had a equalizer or an additional 2% and some change that was put on top of that.
Oh, that's how I got to 8.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
exactly.
And so, and what they're proposing for a COLA this year, you said was?
8.22.
So with the deficits growing, how's that even possible?
Well, the COLA is not based off of the state budget. There's a factor that's calculated based, consumer price index, all that kind of stuff. That's how that number is done. The state has tried to, and this is probably, again, a little bit of a piece of the governor and his long-term plans. He would like to continue to fund that COLA, right?
Okay.
Because the state, they have, the state will tell you is they have deferred the COLA in those years where we didn't get a COLA.
Right.
What they said is they deferred it, right? And eventually they got back to it, but they didn't pay us back for all of those COLAs that we didn't get. So they will always try to make the effort to try to fund the COLA. And the truth is there are, I believe, 4 different stabilization, rainy day fund. There's all these different funds that they're actually adding money to those funds to build up those reserves. I assume because they have serious concerns in the next few years. So those dollars will be accessed. At this point, no one is recommending accessing it. I will share that the legislative, I think it came from the Senate side, their proposal for the state budget is to fund the COLA and all of these things, but they're basing it off of the idea of increasing the corporate tax. That's their solution to do that. And the governor has already said he has no interest in increasing that tax, right? Governor wants to be president, I assume. And so raising taxes is not how you get there. So that would be probably why that will be a non-starter. So.
Okay. So remind me, the timeline for the legislature to approve the budget is?
June 25th, I want to believe. It has to be, they more or less have to agree to it at that point. Otherwise, they don't get paid. And so magically, it always gets approved. A lot of times, there's a lot of holding in it where we don't know any of the details behind it. There'll be placeholders, or they'll gut other bills to make it. And then, so we find out a lot of times we don't know actual dollars until November, December. So the big one obviously is the LCFF and the COLA and whether it's going to be fully funded. That will be the big picture. And then the question will be, okay, what's the state's plan for the next year?
Okay.
So.
I'm afraid to put this out there, but with CSBA, I'm meeting with a couple of the legislatures in the next couple of weeks. So
Okay.
any thoughts, you can pass them along my way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the 25th.
23rd and 26th.
Yeah.
All right. If there isn't anything further on this, I guess we'll go on to the next item.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
C, board historian leadership position, superintendent.
Yes, this was a request, I think, Mr. Reed, that you had brought up, and there was consensus from the board from the February meeting to bring back information regarding the possibility of a board historian leadership position, what that might look like. And we started, our discovery by asking our, some of our networks of folks to see if something like that existed in other districts. So I want to thank my staff, Martha and Rochelle, who reached out to SCOE to see if they are aware of any districts in Sacramento County that have such a position. They were not aware of any districts, at least in Sacramento County, with such a position. They also reached out to CSBA, and at the time that we published this, we hadn't heard anything back yet, but that might be a question at your delegate assembly.
Yeah, and that's this weekend. And actually, I reached out to our PACER this morning, and no.
Okay. And then the other group that Martha and Rochelle belong to is a statewide executive assistant network group. So they ran the question up the flagpole there as well. And so there wasn't anything formal, although some districts said that they do digital archiving consisting of everything from like keeping a list of school openings, photographs with brief descriptions of their school sites, historical timelines, to gathering longest-serving trustees. So, I mean, it wasn't a lot of information if we were saying, you know, can we build off of something that another district has done? I did send the board a copy of a history of the district that was actually prepared by a former employee that retired a few years back from our maintenance and operations department, who had a love of history and wanted to learn about, you know, some of those, you know, interesting facts and figures of our district. So he had started putting that together, and he continues to reach out, just, you know, to check in. And I told him this item was on the agenda as well. He was very curious to hear about it, because, you know, really the direction that we're seeking from you is, you know, we let the schools continue to archive the history of their schools as they've done. Some schools put up the pictures of all the principals of their school. Mitchell Middle School has all the pictures of their principals from the time that they opened the school. They're all in black and white until you get to the recent principal, who's in color. So Amy Strawn is in color in that, on that wall, and you know, different schools have different ways to do that. But that is one, you know, way that we can continue to just archive, but it's not formalized in any way. Do we want, another option is, do we want one of our board officer positions in the future to be kind of that historian, and that would be of this group here? Is there someone who would want to take that on? Or, you know, is there someone currently who's an employee that has that in their job description, and it really doesn't exist in, you know, a specified job description, but perhaps there is, you know, someone who works for the district, like our retired employee, that has an interest if we made it a special assignment and there was some kind of compensation, you know, for doing that special assignment. We could ask for volunteers first, but, you know, that's another way to approach it. So those are just some options. That's a little bit of our research. Didn't find a lot, but it doesn't mean, you know, there couldn't be more. But, you know, as you're thinking about that, there's a lot of things on our plates right now. And I want us to remember to always kind of come back to our vision, empowering all students to strive through educational excellence. And with the board historian position, or the time and effort it would take from the board or from staff, be, you know, helping lift that vision. And we have a lot of other things, and you know, we have some big things that we're talking about if we're talking about future bonds and the budget and needs of our teachers and students going forward. So I just want to put that out there, you know, to keep that in mind as we decide to, you know, take a next step or not.
Yeah, and you know, I guess when I originally kind of posed the question, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be a board leadership position. It's really, although the reason why I kind of suggested it was because I was thinking that would be like no cost versus, you know, potentially a staff member that has, you know, having that added to their job description. Would obviously have a cost, but I guess the ultimate question that I'm really trying to figure out is, how do we preserve our history? History is a very important thing to maintain, not every detail, but the important details. You know, and you know, like hypothetically, if we wanted to be able to identify the name of every single principal at every single site from the point it opened, could we do it? I'm not sure if anybody has the answer to that. Maybe, well, probably for the newer schools, that would be probably easy. But if we looked at Mather or Rancho Cordova Elementary, could we do it? I don't know. Same thing, you know, with, you know, how much did facilities cost when they were constructed, or questions like that. And maybe, I mean, ultimately, the board might not see any value in that, or the district might not see any value in that. But at least, whether it's a formal structure or an informal structure, it would be nice to think that there would be some way, some manner we could preserve our history so that in the future, when a future superintendent, a future board, a future principal, wants to learn some information about the district, that we actually have it. And someone might say, yeah, we have a room dedicated for this up on the 4th floor, or whatever, where the archives are kept, although I suspect going forward, most archives will be electronic. But so that's really the question. And whether it's a board leadership position or not, I don't really care. I just want to know, do we have some type of methodology to preserve our history? Or even, if we're talking about maybe the site level, at least goals or for our sites to perhaps try to engage in, such as you mentioned the Mitchell and Cordova High. Yes, I mean, I actually find it fascinating. Every time I go to Mitchell and I go to Cordova High, I like to look at the pictures of the former principals. But that's not universal. I'm not sure if there's any other schools other than those two that I've ever noticed that at. Is that perhaps something we could encourage our school sites to start to develop, to preserve that history at the school site rather than at the at the district level? Those are just the kind of the general questions, but I certainly don't necessarily want to cost any additional money to the district. I appreciate the costs associated with having a staff member doing this. So that's kind of why I was just thinking outside of the box on a volunteer position or something along those lines. But I don't know if the board has any thoughts on that.
I would just say that going back to that question of maintaining our vision and mission and our focus being on students, I think a lot of what was brought up is kind of far from students. And so in terms of time to consolidate all of that information in one place, I couldn't even tell you the hours that it would take to do that. However, with time spent in the district working here, if there was ever a piece of information that needed to be found, there was somebody on staff, usually in the correct department, that could find that information for us. So, and then I know in Folsom, I spent a lot of time at the History Museum, who also archives a lot of history of the school district. So, and they do have that room where you have to go dig through all the papers. So I think that there's resources available. I think that knowing what is on our plates as board members, who all have jobs outside of this, and families, I think that to find somebody to volunteer the number of hours to actually do this would probably be far-fetched, with very little value to our students. In the sense that we're not helping provide any excellence for them in that. So that said, I do remember being in Blanche Sprentz and like having the picture of Blanche Sprentz on the wall in the office. So there's pieces of that, but there's also yearbooks for every school, and those are usually found in the school libraries. So so I think that it is archived. It's just knowing where to find it.
Actually, most schools do not maintain their yearbooks, which is potentially one thing we could encourage is for each school site to archive one copy of their yearbook.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I think they do.
The Historical Museum has
Yeah.
copies of Folsom High.
Yeah, well, I heard the Folsom History Museum, but in talking with some folks at the high schools, there is.
I know Folsom High does.
I know Cordova High does.
I know Folsom Middle School also does. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I guess the people who answered my question were incorrect then. So. All right, so we'll just let it go. I just thought this was something that, was, I think history is important, but If there's not a consensus to move forward, we might as well just take it off. All right. All right, so let's move to item 15, Superintendent's Report.
Yeah, it's end of the year and a lot of things are happening and a lot of people to thank for putting together a lot of the events that we've all been attending. But we had, I would say, a pretty successful employee recognition ceremony. I want to thank our communication team and the HR department and FCEA and CSEA and district staff. It was, I think, a fun gathering at Hagan Park in an environment where hopefully folks had a good time. They could bring their families and celebrate and have some snacks and good food from the food trucks, and got to celebrate our retirees, years of service, employees of the year, and our state winners as well. So lots of thanks to the board who were there and to all of our folks that were there and everyone who put it together. We also celebrated the groundbreaking of Alder Creek Elementary this week. Again, lots of work from Matt and his team, so thank you, Matt. Thank you, Angela. And also to our construction team from Roblin and our architect team from HMC. And then coming up on our agenda, and this is something you're going to see advertised pretty broadly, is our classified job fair is going to be hosted here at the ESC on June 12th. Another big effort to recruit and fill positions before folks leave for the summer and before our school year starts. That'll be from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So again, HR team, thank you for all the work and from the communication department as well. And to our class of 2023 graduating seniors, and two of our student board members who are leading the charge for graduation as well. We wish them all the very best as they participate through graduation ceremonies next week, are promoting 8th graders, and hopefully, taking lots of learning and memories and, skills, soft skills, as well as those content skills with them as they move on to the next chapter of their lives. So, Ria and Rocio, we wish you all the best too. You will be missed on this board, but we know you have wonderful futures in front of you as well. So we wish you well. Thank you.
All right. That takes us to the board member reports. We'll start with the student board members. Board member Perez.
Echoing Dr. Kaligian's statement, tonight was so wholesome. Though it's not officially our last meeting, it sure felt like it. Shout out to Van and Matthew for staying through the entire meeting. I'm eager to witness you both in your future roles on the board. And as the end of the year is approaching, we are only a few days away from graduating. I'd like to give a huge thanks to our district for all that has been done to support our students and put our needs at the forefront. 12 years has definitely paid off, and I am determined to commit 10 to 12 more years of school from here on out. I'm also super excited to walk the stage next Friday and present a speech on behalf of our Cordova High students. So with that being said, congratulations to the district-wide class of 2023. Thank you.
Board member Shrivastava.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it really brief or I might start crying. Again, Van and Matthew, congratulations. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to see all that you do next year. I'm confident that both of you will be amazing for this position, so I'm really excited to see that. I just want to say congratulations to all of our students to making it to the end of the school year. This year has been one of transformative growth for all of us, and I'm so proud of our students as we step forward into this coming year. To all those graduating high school, a huge congratulations, and I hope to see all of you at Vis's graduation because I'm doing a valedictorian speech, and it would mean a lot to me if you were there. Thank you.
Board member Lofthouse.
I just wanted to give an additional congratulations to our emerging bilingual students who were here tonight and also the ones that were not here. It's a great accomplishment and takes a huge team to get to that point. Congratulations and thank you again to Rocio and Ria. You will be greatly missed, but I also look very forward to working with you, Matt and Van. I've actually known Van's mom since kindergarten, so we went to school together. So I'm excited for that. And then congratulations to all of the California Employees of the Year that we got to honor tonight. Our district is full of fabulous employees, both classified, certified. and leadership. So keep up the wonderful work. Congratulations on your upcoming retirements to Angelica and Deb. You'll be greatly missed, people in the boardroom. You're welcome anytime. I'm sure you'll have better things to do, but you've been an advocate for teachers for a very long time, and it does not go unnoticed. So congratulations and thank you for your efforts for so long. Alder Creek groundbreaking was probably on the hottest night of the year. And we got to all wear our closed-toed shoes that night. So made it even hotter. But it was a very fun event, and seeing how excited the community was for the new school is exciting. Good luck on finals coming up. I look forward to being at as many promotions and graduations as possible. I don't think I knew busy until being a board member during graduation week. So I think I'll feel that next week. And then to the teachers and students, have a much deserved and relaxed summer vacation.
Thank you. Board Member Clark.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank Rafael and Rhea for their work again, and just to tell you to never lose your voice. Use it. Continue to use it. Even if you get criticized, use your voice. I want to echo everything that Board Member Lofthouse has said, the Superintendent has said. I want to congratulate our retirees, our graduating students. I want to welcome aboard Van and Matt. No, I'm not going to make that. No, I am going to make that joke. This was actually a short meeting. Just joking with you. I mean, I'm glad that you guys stayed and just kind of taking everything all in. Sean, thank you for your presentation on the budget. I am meeting with our board of directors with CSBA tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure some things will change. And then I look forward to the delegate assembly this weekend with the rest of the delegates for CSBA and hear the discussion about the budget and some other things that are coming down the pipe, especially with the smaller school districts that will really suffer the next 3 or 4 years. And I just really feel bad for those districts and those students. Other than that, I just hope everybody has a great summer. Rhea, I will be there in spirit, as I will be at Cordova, hopefully handing Lucille her diploma. But we need to make a change. I've been saying this for the past 7 years. Doing it on the same night ain't working. But anyway, so that's it for me, and I hope the staff and their teachers have a great summer. Oh, by the way, Monday I am taking the day off. I am going to visit. I'm going to try to visit every school, elementary school, just to visit the first and second grade classes. I just got to map it out to see how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try. Oh, is it out at 1? Okay, so that's they are out early, so that's going to be some pressure. I might have to take Tuesday off too and try to figure it out. But I do want to get out to all those schools, at least try. So I'll just have to map it out. But thank you.
Board Member Lorette.
Yeah, I wanted to thank, first of all of the families and students that came out. I think that's like the best part of the board meeting. So it like always just brings a tear to my eye anytime you see a student come up here and just be able to be recognized. And it was great to see our students out there for their academic accomplishments and how much that really means that they're doing in the classroom, in their homes, and you know just what an accomplishment it is for them and for their families. Of course, wanted to thank Rhea and Rocio, and good luck on finals and enjoy this next week. Congratulations to Van and Matthew. Looking forward to working with you guys. Also wanted to thank Mrs. Miklos and Ms. Krikorian. You've made a huge impact on our district, and we appreciate all the work that you've put in with our students and with our teachers, and you know, being a great representative of them. And I will miss all the data, and I hope that continues because that's very helpful. So I appreciate that. Also wanted to thank Kate and Carla for all their work on community schools. I just would be remiss if I did not say how thrilled I was with the work that they've done this last year and how excited I am. I really feel like it's going to change the face of our district and really just give a lot of extra supports that are really needed to those families, and I'm very excited about that. So looking forward, embracing myself for this next week. It's going to be a grind, but I'm excited for it and I'm looking forward to it. So that's it.
Board Member Hui?
Thank you. Just a few quick things. First of all, echo many of the sentiments and congratulate our 2023 upcoming graduates, including those on this board. Great job. Hope you enjoy this next week. Also want to say welcome to Van and Matthew. Excited to have you guys here. Lastly, just a special shout out to coaches Robert and Liz Grove from Vista Del Lago Cross Country and Track and Field. After 14 years of being dedicated coaches, they are going to be hanging their shoes up and retiring from coaching. So they've had a huge impact across many, many lives at Vista Del Lago. So wish them the best in everything that they do. Hope they enjoy having their weekends free for the first time in 14 years. And, just want to personally thank them for the impact they've had in my own kids' lives.
All right, this is always honestly the best part of the school year. Just all of the ceremonies and events, the promotion, the graduation. I just obviously think back to when I was graduating from high school, and just the future was limitless, and the pure excitement about changing. I guess one's school, going on to college or going on to a career or going on to military or whatever the next chapter of your life takes you. Starting new chapters are always exciting. And so to a certain degree, I guess I'm slightly envious of the graduating class. But, just what a wonderful time of life. And so special thank you and congratulations to the class of 2023. Obviously we all wish you the best for your future endeavors. And don't be a stranger. I always love when people come back, whether it's coming back to their schools, visit with their old teachers, or just former board members. Occasionally we see them in the audience. It'd be nice to see Rio and Rosio in the audience, and maybe talking to us on the public comment, or maybe chastising us. I don't know, something. But yeah, it really is a great time, and graduation ceremonies in particular, they're just really special. So that's all I have for tonight. And Deb, where are you? Yep, there you are. I don't know. I know you've been doing remote recently. I don't know is this going to be your last time in person here? Well, Deb, thank you very much for everything. As I was mentioned earlier with Angelica, I remember in 2016, 17, 18, sitting next to you and comparing notes, and I really appreciated your insight. And occasionally we got together for coffee or something. I always appreciated your thoughts on the various topics. So I wish you the best in retirement. And whatever the next chapter is for you. So thank you. All right, that takes us to item 17, advanced planning. The next board meeting is on June 1st, 2023. And we'll note that we also have a special joint board meeting between the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, the City Council of the Rancho Cordova, and the City Council of Folsom on June 8th, 2023. And that's going to specifically be about the conversation about the pros and cons of splitting the district. We have a special board study session on June 10th, 2023. And we'll wrap up the school year with our final school board meeting of the year on June 15th, 2023. The 12-month calendar is there for your reference, and then suggested future agenda items. There it is. High school schedule differences. Okay. At first, I missed the my suggestion from the last meeting about the high school schedules, but I see that there now. Does anybody have any items that you would like to add for future board consideration? Nope. All right. So that takes us to agenda item Roman numerals. Let's see. That's 18. We did not finish all of our work in closed session, so we do have to return to closed session. I don't anticipate it's going to be too terribly long, but there won't be anything, at least I expect, that would be reported out. So I'll leave it to the superintendent to decide what staff need to stay around for us to return. But when we return, basically it will probably be 30 seconds. We'll just gabble out for the evening. So that being said,
Mr. President.
Yes.
Could we take a couple of minutes just to say give some hugs to our student board members and maybe wish Deb well before we go in, like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, not just rush in?
How about 5 minutes?
You got it.
All right, extra long hugs.
All right.
All right, we are in recess. All right, welcome back to open session. We are on, let's see, agenda item 21, reporting out of closed session. Superintendent?
No action to report out of closed session.
Okay, we're at adjournment. We will adjourn by unanimous consent unless anybody has any objections. Hearing none, we're adjourned.